Chapter 124. It was similar to what Fong Qingshan was doing when he was studying the He-Sha wondrous book. As Fong Qingshan injected his mental soul force into the inheritance scroll, Wong, a strange power emitted from the inheritance scroll, resonating with Fong Qingshan's mental soul force. Especially at this moment, the two pure yang flying swords in his dantian each shot out a pure yang sword qi into it. The next moment, with a hum, the mental soul force in Fong Qingshan's mind surged into the pure yang sword art scripture, painting like water from a broken dam. Boom! Fong Qingshan's vision darkened. When he opened his eyes again, he saw a blazing white in front of him. As far as the eye could see, they had already appeared in a strange space. Above a vast ocean, there was a white-robed youth. His robes fluttered in the wind as he held a sharp sword in his hand. He stood quietly, exuding an indescribable elegance. However, Fong Qingshan could not see his face clearly, as though it was shrouded by a thin veil. As though sensing Fong Qingshan's arrival, the man moved. He gently clasped the scabbard with his fingers. Clang! A blazing white beam streaked across the sky as the flying sword was unsheathed. Millennium Moon, a sword that was similar to the pure yang flying swords in Fong Qingshan's body, landed in the man's hand. Holding the sharp sword in his right hand, he did not make any unnecessary movements. It was as though he was lifting a brush to draw. The sword gently slashed forward. It was as though he was scribbling. The white-robed man's sword was very simple. It looked ordinary, and there was nothing surprising about it. Just as Fong Qingshan was feeling puzzled, a sudden change occurred. As a man's sword beam streaked across, the temperature in the air suddenly began to rise. The sky above his head was originally clear, but in an instant, a huge sun illuminated everything. Fong Qingshan instantly felt as though he was about to melt. His heart was filled with horror. Rumble! As the man's sword fell, the sun sank to the west, bathing the eastern sea. Suddenly, the sea under his feet seemed to have collapsed, and a tsunami occurred. Tens of thousands of miles, hundreds of thousands of miles, millions of miles of the sea, raging waves engulfed the world. Smoke and clouds surged, making it so that one could not even see their fingers if they stretched out their hands. When the smoke dissipated, a huge abyssal canyon was formed. Boom! There was another loud noise, but the seawater from all directions swarmed in to fill the gap. When everything calmed down, the water level of the entire sea dropped by a layer. Fong Qingshan's consciousness turned black, and the scene changed. He was back in the secret chamber. However, compared to just now, Fong Qingshan's face was pale, and he was sweating profusely. What a terrifying sword! Recalling the white-clothed man's sword, Fong Qingshan could not help but feel his heart palpitate. At this moment, his mind was filled with that great sun. It was light, it was heat, it was sword, it was yang, it was unyielding, it was pure. What a good pure yang immortal! What a good pure yang sword art! After a long time, Fong Qingshan caught his breath and praised sincerely. Although pure yang was not the great sun, it was suitable to use the great sun to display pure yang. Under the sword, the sun bathed the East Sea, and even the entire East Sea was evaporated by a layer of seawater. The power was self-evident. Suppressing the palpitations in his heart, Fong Qingshan could not wait to see the sky escape sword art at this moment. However, although he was anxious, Fong Qingshan did not act immediately, because he had just observed the pure yang sword art, but he had exhausted his mental strength. If he forced himself to observe the sky escape sword art, not only would he not be able to observe it completely, but he would also hurt his foundation. The gains were not worth the losses. Fong Qingshan's heart moved, and in his sea of consciousness, he immediately visualized a dragon elephant that suppressed the world. At this moment, although the dragon elephant was still a dragon elephant, it was not the same as before. Fong Qingshan refined the dragon elephant's blood essence, but he got some dragon elephant inheritance from it. At this moment, although the dragon elephant visualization picture was still not the best, it was much more exquisite than the Ascension Sex Yuanshan technique. Of course, it was not that Fang Qingshan did not want to change to a better visualization method, but because the Hesha Wondrous Book was the inheritance of Qi training, there was no specific visualization method. The same was true for the pure Yang sword art. Fang Qingshan had to make do with it for now. As Fang Qingshan visualized the dragon elephant, the blood and qi in his body also began to run unconsciously, refining qi into spirit, replenishing with blood and qi, transforming the spirit. After an hour, Fang Qingshan opened his eyes, and two searchlight-like eyes flashed. There was some progress in the mental aspect. Although observing the sword art consumed mental strength, it also helped to polish the spirit. Although it was not the main purpose, it was better than nothing. Taking a deep breath, Fang Qingshan repeated the same trick and immersed his consciousness into the Sky Escape sword art. The world was spinning, and the surrounding scene changed again. This time, it was the same scene, and it was the same person. Sensing Fang Qingshan's appearance, the man in white used his fingers as a sword, and with a slight tap, the flying sword flew out of its sheath. This time, the pure Yang sword art was slightly different from the previous time. The pure Yang sword art. Once the sword moved, the sun would cover the sky, and the East Sea would be bathed in the sun. It could be said to be majestic, as if one's strength could defeat 10. However, the Sky Escape sword art was different. The man's fingers were like a remote control, and the pure Yang flying sword was in his hand as he commanded it. Wherever the heart wished, the sword would follow. The Sky Escape sword art was based on the word escape. Escape was not just about escaping, it was also about coming and going without a trace, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. Although it was not as majestic as the pure Yang sword art, which could engulf the heavens and earth, in Fang Qingshan's eyes, the Sky Escape sword art was more difficult to defend against. If the pure Yang sword art was to let you face it head-on, then the Sky Escape sword art would not even give you time to react. Sometimes in the east, sometimes in the west, as long as the user wants, the flying sword can appear in any place of the attacked person at any time. It has the same effect as the invisible flying sword of Shushan ascetic Duda. It's just that the difference between the two is that one is a sword art, the other is a flying sword, one is a void escape, and the other is invisibility. Alas, what a pity! After observing the Sky Escape sword art, Fang Qingshan returned to the secret room. His face was also pale and bloodless. He took a deep breath and couldn't help but sigh with some regret. Although the Sky Escape sword art is good, if you want to practice it, you need to be very familiar with the law of space, otherwise how can the sword art escape? According to the rules of a mortal world, only when you reach the third level of the longevity secret realm, Paradise Realm, can you control and comprehend the law of space. Of course, it is not absolute. Before that, you can also practice some space magical powers, such as the Great Teleportation Technique and Master the Law of Space. Forget it, don't worry about other things. I'd better practice it first. Thinking of this, Fang Qingshan conjured the pure Yang flying sword and began to cultivate the sword art bit by bit according to the teachings of the sword art. One move at a time. Chapter 125. While Fang Qingshan was in seclusion at the All-Sky Peak, news about him finally spread throughout the Ascension sect. In particular, he and Fang Qingxue actually joined forces to kill the demon god's clone in the underground world and destroyed the demon god altar. This was a great achievement and also shocking. Although it was not the demon god itself, the clone of a longevity secret realm powerhouse was also something that ordinary divine ability secret realm disciples could only dream of. Fang Qingshan had just broken through to the divine ability secret realm, and Fang Qingxue was only in the yin-yang realm. How could they kill the demon god's clone so brutally? Their prestige, which had declined due to Hua Tiandu's suppression, immediately stopped. Especially when Fang Qingxue entered the small immortal realm to cultivate, she would most likely be a celestial being elder when she came out. Although Fang Qingshan did not receive a reward, it was not that the sect had forgotten, but that they had remembered it. Although people did not think that Fang Qingxue had caught up to Hua Tiandu, They did not dare to underestimate the Fong family anymore. After all, the Fong family had Fong Qingxue and Fong Qingshan, two divine ability experts, and Fong Han dared to challenge Hua Tiandu with his physique. For a moment, undercurrents were surging in the sect. As for Fong Han, after receiving the pure yang gold pill from Fong Qingshan, he did not take it himself, but gave it to Yin. This was because taking medicinal pills to increase one's cultivation was not a big deal, but when one broke through to the divine ability secret realm, or the divine ability secret realm, it would shake one's foundation. An obvious example was Jin Sherdai taking the Yin Yang longevity pill to break through to the divine ability secret realm, and Shilongzi himself breaking through to the divine ability secret realm. Moreover, Yin and Fong Han shared weal and woe. If his cultivation recovered, Fong Han would also get more benefits. Moreover, compared to Fong Han, Yin needed treasures that contained pure Yangqi more. Therefore, he coveted the heavenly chicken yang rope and the 9-palace golden pagoda. Even Fong Qingshan's pure yang flying sword. Even though he knew he could not digest it and could not get his hands on it, he still yearned for it. Although Fong Han did not take the pure yang golden pill, he was steadily advancing towards the divine power realm by cultivating the golden body of Yama. Not long after, Fong Han went to the inner sect technique teaching courtyard and defeated the 10th ranked of the Mountain River list, the Silver Snake Sword, Yuan Jiankong. In a moment, it shook the inner and outer sect. During this time, because Fong Qingwei had the pure yang golden pill given by Fong Qingshan, she didn't wander around. Instead, she returned to her courtyard and focused on refining the pure yang golden pill, hoping to break through. Of course, all of this had nothing to do with Fong Qingshan. He was currently immersed in the pure yang sword art. He was even more obsessed with it than refining the 5-cloud peach flower miasma. All Heaven Peak, Carefree Hall, in a secret chamber. Fong Qingshan sat cross-legged on a praying mat. His eyes were half closed, but the aura around his body was firm and yang, like a sun hanging in the sky. This was not because of his body's qi and blood, but because he cultivated the pure yang sword art. His entire body was tainted with pure yang qi. His entire body became incomparably sharp. Sword qi seeped out from all the pores on his body. His entire body was like a peerless sharp sword. 2 pure yang flying swords floated above his head. His hands formed a series of hand seals, and a series of hand seals were inserted into the 2 flying swords. Every time a talisman or restriction was inserted into the swords would shine brighter, the sword qi would become purer, and the swords would shrink. There was no sun or moon in the mountains. 1,000 years had passed in the world. Fong Qingshan did not know how long he had been in seclusion. The 2 swords, which were originally 3 feet long, had now shrunk to the size of a golden pill. Although they had changed from sword to sword orbs, the aura of the pure yang flying swords had become even sharper. At this moment, the 2 sword orbs were reflected in Fong Qingshan's eyes. It was as if there were 2 suns floating in his eyes. It could illuminate all the dark corners of the world, and it could also pierce through all darkness. The pure yang intent had gradually seeped into the depths of his heart. At a certain moment, Fong Qingshan stood up and lightly tapped the ground. The pure yang flying swords flew out. A scorching aura rose, and the entire secret chamber seemed to have turned into a furnace. When the sword fell, a trace of scorching aura could be smelled in the air. There were even faint cracks in the space. At this moment, if someone had also seen the pure yang sword technique, they would clearly discover that in Fong Qingshan's sword technique, one could faintly see a shadow of the man in white who had been imparting the Tao. In the next moment, the hand seals in Fong Qingshan's hands changed, and the seemingly slow, flying swords instantly disappeared without a trace. The body of the sword was not visible, but only the afterimages of the sword could be seen in the air. The air was like silk being torn apart, and there was a faint sound of thunder. Sigh, it really doesn't work. After practicing for a while, Fong Qingshan could not help but sigh and keep the flying swords. In the beginning, he had used the pure yang sword art. He had grasped the basics of such a sword art very quickly. Correspondingly, The 5 elemental true Chi's fire true Chi also had traces of extreme yang. It was the true fire of the sun. Although its power was not that strong, it was at the beginner level. However, the Sky Escape sword art that he used later was a little lacking. Although it seemed that the momentum was not much worse than the pure yang sword art, it was precisely because of this that it seemed that Fang Qingshan's Sky Escape sword art had not been mastered. The Sky Escape sword art emphasized on the word escape. When it was used, there was a sound of thunder. This was not because it was executed well, but because it was still stuck in the aspect of speed. It had not even touched the threshold of space. It seems that if I want to successfully practice the Sky Escape sword art, I still have a lot of work to do. Fang Qingshan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Fang Qingshan suddenly had an idea. He thought of the last time he returned to Emergent Sect. Shi Longzi used the instant kill technique on Ying Tianqing. This magical power was evolved after the great success of the Great Freedom Dark Gold Sword Qi. It could be said to be a magical power or a skill. It had the prototype of a space magical power. Later, Fang Han was trapped in the Tai Yuan immortal abode, and the sect leader of the Emergent Sect came to rescue him. In the face of the siege of the 9 Yin, 9 Yang, Demon God, and Lady Silkworm, the sect leader of the Ascension Sect, he used the instant kill technique, but with a wave of sword light, the opponent was already split in half. It was an instant kill, a one-hit kill. It was extremely amazing. It seems that I can first practice the Great Freedom Dark Gold Sword Qi, and then practice the Sky Escape sword art. I'm afraid it will be twice the result with half the effort. Thinking of this, Fang Qingshan knew that it was time for him to come out of seclusion. The 5-cloud peach blossom miasma was successfully refined, and the pure yang sword art was at the beginning. This seclusion could be said to be fruitful. If he wanted to practice the Great Freedom Dark Gold Sword Qi, he needed to go out and prepare all kinds of treasures. Moreover, the way of cultivation was not always the best way to be in seclusion. It was the way of literature and martial arts. Chapter 126. Young Master, you're out. Fang Qingshan pushed open the door of the secret room and saw Fang Ling guarding outside, looking at him in surprise. Why are you here? Fang Qingshan asked. Sister and I did not know when young master would come out, so we took turns to guard here. Fang Ling replied. Thank you. Fang Qingshan felt warm in his heart and nodded. Looking at Fang Ling's cultivation, she had just broken through to the God Force realm and could not help but shake his head. What's wrong, young master? Fang Ling saw Fang Qingshan looked at her and shook his head, sighed, looked down at herself, and found nothing strange, could not help but ask. While taking care of the All Heavens Peak, you should also work hard to raise your own cultivation. Fang Qingshan pointed. In the Emergence Sect, in the cultivation world, strength is everything. As the people who have been by my side for the longest, I do not wish for you to fall behind. This is the Emergence Sect's Pine and Crane Longevity Fist, Flying Spirit Softbone Body, Dragon Form, Soaring Tiger Steps, and the small phaseless technique that I obtained. Fang Qingshan extended his hand and pointed at Fang Ling's forehead and imparted the few techniques to her. Pass them to Fang Qin later. Train well, only when your cultivation is high. Can you help me better? Thank you, young master. Ling and sister will not disappoint young master. Fang Ling said emotionally. In the past, when she saw Fang Chong, Fang Han, and the rest training, and their changes, it would be a lie to say that she was not envious, but now young master was finally teaching them martial arts. Fang Ling was extremely excited. All right, did anything big happen in the sect recently? Fang Qingshan asked. Big? Fang Ling thought about it. Nothing big. The only big thing is that the Mountain River List competition is about to begin. Oh, hearing that, Fang Qingshan's eyes flashed. He knew that this time, Fang Han would shine in the Mountain River List competition. Little Ling, is young master out? Just then, Fang Qin's voice came out, and then, Fang Qin walked in. Young master, you're out of seclusion. Fang Qin was a little surprised to see Fang Qingshan, but she was more pleasantly surprised. Yeah. Fang Qingshan nodded and said, Why? What can I do for you? Second Miss is here and wants to see young master, Fang Qin said. Oh, second sister is here? Let's go and meet him. With that, Fong Qingshan took the lead and walked into the hall. Second sister. Third brother. In the hall, this was the first time Fong Qingshan and Fong Qingwei had seen each other since they joined the outer sect. They couldn't help but feel like it had been a long time since they last met. Eh, Fong Qingshan suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Second sister, you've broken through to the transcendent realm. Yeah, it's all thanks to third brother's pure yang gold pill. Fong Qingwei said proudly and gratefully. You and I are siblings. There is no need for such things. Moreover, back then, it was all thanks to second sister's care that I am where I am today. Fong Qingshan waved his hand. Although he was surprised that Fong Qingwei had broken through to the transcendent realm, but after thinking about it, he was not surprised. Although Fong Qingwei's talent was not the best, she was still a genius. When he came to Ascension's sect, although Fong Qingwei's cultivation was not as high as his, she was still at the 7th level of the fleshly body realm. And different from Fong Qingshan, Fong Qingwei had the resources that Fong Qingxue gave her. Adding the pure yang gold pill's effect, breaking through to the transcendent realm was not expected, but reasonable. Congratulations, second sister. Our Fong family has another transcendent realm expert. I think when big sister comes out of closed-door cultivation, she will definitely be happy. Fong Qingshan congratulated. Same to you. Fong Qingwei laughed. All right, third brother, this time I am here because I have something to ask. Oh? What does second sister want to ask? Fong Qingshan asked. You know that the Mountain River List competition is about to begin. Fong Qingwei said, do you think I should directly advance to become a direct disciple, or participate in the Mountain River List competition and become a direct disciple as the first? Fong Qingshan looked at Fong Qingwei and laughed in his heart. Although Fong Qingwei was asking him, her heart was already biased. If she became a direct disciple as the first in the Mountain River List, not only would she become famous, she would also obtain a treasure weapon and a yin-yang longevity pill. If it was in the past, with Fong Qingwei's transcendent realm cultivation, as long as she gave it her all, obtaining the first place would be a piece of cake. Unfortunately, her luck was not good, and she just had to make it this time. Ignoring the fact that Fong Han had broken through to the transcendent realm and had countless methods, even the first in the Mountain River List, Long Xian, was not easy to deal with. She trained in the Ice Soul Divine Lightning. Even if a transcendent realm expert met her, he would not be able to escape unscathed, and Fong Qingwei was obviously an ordinary transcendent realm expert. So, she wanted fame and fortune, but she was thinking too much. Second sis, just go and become a direct disciple. Fong Qingshan suggested. Why? Hearing that, Fong Qingwei could not help but frown, although she was asking for Fong Qingshan's opinion. But as Fong Qingshan had said, she wanted to participate in the Mountain River List competition. She originally thought that after breaking through to the transcendent realm and participating in the Mountain River List competition, the first place would be in her grasp, and Fong Qingshan would support her without hesitation, but she never thought that Fong Qingshan would actually oppose it. If it was any other time, second sis participating would naturally not be a problem. Fong Qingshan said unhurriedly, but not this time. Without waiting for Fong Qingwei to speak, Fong Qingshan continued. First, you're not the only one who broke through to the transcendent realm, and there is also Long Xian, who is currently the first in the Mountain River List. You would only have a 50-50 chance against her. I'm not the only one who broke through to the transcendent realm? Who else? Fong Qingwei was startled and immediately asked. Fong Han. Fong Qingshan said indifferently. How is that possible? A lowly servant actually broke through to the transcendent realm. Fong Qingwei was completely unable to accept it and could not help but exclaim out loud. Second sis, although Fong Han was born as a servant, but now he has defied the heavens and changed his fate, you must not look at him with your old eyes. Fong Qingshan said sternly. With Fong Han's current methods, even if I want to take him down, it would be extremely difficult. And Big Sis also thinks highly of him. Such a person, we cannot wait to rope him in. We cannot push him away. Understand. Feng Qingwei took a deep breath, and after a long while, she nodded her head with a gloomy expression. She was nurtured by a big family, and naturally knew the ways of a big family. Not only did they have to forge iron, they had to be strong themselves. They had to rope in everything that was beneficial to the family, their own power. Feng Qingshan knew that she was just thinking about it, and did not try to persuade her. Then what will second sis choose? Humph! What other choice do we have? Naturally, we will go to the true inheritance palace to advance. Feng Qingwei snorted. Since it's like that, then I will bring you there. Feng Qingshan did not mind and laughed. With a wave of his hand, he released a 5-colored light and brought Feng Qingwei towards the true inheritance palace. Chapter 127. The mist was vast and boundless. The sky and the sea were one. After Feng Qingshan brought Feng Qingwei to the direct inheritance palace to be promoted to a direct disciple, he did not stay in the sect for long, and directly used the 5-cloud peach flower miasma, transforming into a ray of light, and headed towards the sinkhole. He did not go to see Feng Han shine on the mountain river list because there was no need. His current priority was to find the 5 elemental treasures and condense them into the 5 elemental true qi, so that he could break through to the next cultivation level and cultivate his divine abilities. There were a few ways to obtain natural treasures. First, one had to search for them himself. However, this method was time-consuming and laborious, and there was no telling if it would be able to achieve his goal. Therefore, it was not for Feng Qingshan. Then there was buying and exchanging, but whether it was buying or exchanging, he first had to have money. The sinkhole was a good place. There were many ancient ruins, remnants of the great war between immortals and demons, and many treasures. Ancient spiritual pills, spiritual weapons, treasured weapons, even Tao weapons, and the legendary immortal weapons. The bones of the ancient demon gods, the remains of the heavenly demons, the flesh and blood of the experts in the secret realm of immortality, etc. Endless treasures were all hidden here. As long as you were lucky enough, you could naturally return with a bountiful harvest. Feng Han's first starting capital was obtained here, and Feng Qingshue's inextinguishable lightning was also obtained here. Feng Qingshan remembered that the first fragment of the world tree that Feng Han obtained was from a disciple of the 10,000 returning immortal island. It was a top-grade wood elemental treasure, and even if placed in the desolation, the world tree would still be a top-grade innate spiritual root. It was easy for Feng Qingshan to obtain it. He just had to take out treasures to exchange for it. Unfortunately, the problem now was that even though he had 2 Tao weapons, he was really poor. The pure Yang flying sword, the 5-cloud peach flower miasma, could not be used to exchange. The pure Yang gold pill, the 10,000 spider golden web, and the medicinal hoe, he did not want to exchange either. But other than these few things, he basically had nothing else in his hands. So, there was only one way left, and that was to rob. As the saying goes, killing and arson earn money. Repairing bridges and paving roads leaves no corpses. If one wanted to get rich quickly, he had to get some unorthodox methods. This was also the method that Feng Han used to quickly accumulate wealth. The bottomless ruins was a good place for everyone. This place wasn't just filled with treasures, it was also a paradise for explorers. Moreover, because it was involved in an ancient great war of immortals and demons, it was connected to the outer realms and even alternate dimensions. The environment was harsh, and there were even some broken voids that caused the space to fluctuate. Even if an expert from the secret realm of longevity went in, he might not be able to come out. Because of that, there were a lot of outlaws and extremely vicious people that were hiding in there. Among them was Suicide Island Master, one of the 40 great bandits of overseas itinerant cultivators, whom Feng Qingshan was very familiar with. The reason why he was familiar with him was that he had become Feng Han's stepping stone. Looks like my top priority now is to deal with this Death Island Master. Only then can I go to the Myriad Returns Market to exchange for what I want. Thinking of this, Feng Qingshan flew in the direction of the Death Island Master, according to his memory. The moment he entered the sinkhole, Feng Qingshan felt the water vapor from all directions swarming towards him. It surged into his pores and worked with his true qi. As he breathed in and out, the essence of the water vapor was assimilated into his body. The reason for this was that although Fang Qingshan did not cultivate the emergent sect's myriad water divine art, he cultivated the more advanced heaven and earth vital qi of the five elements. Looking at the world, there is probably no place that could compare to the sea in terms of water spiritual energy, not to mention other things. Fang Qingshan felt that as long as he stayed in the endless for 3 to 5 years, he would be able to cultivate the water vein of the five elements vital qi to small success even without using other treasures. This was like refining a mineral vein and forcefully pushing the metal element vital qi, using quantitative change to trigger qualitative change. Although Fang Qingshan knew the approximate location of the Death Island Master's lair because of his previous life's memories, searching for it was still like looking for a needle in a haystack. After all, the sea was too big, and most of the time, there was no obvious landmark on it. Apart from water, there was still water. This was also the reason why the Death Island Master could still run wild in the endless for so long, even though the Myriad Returns of Mortal Island had issued a wanted order. After wandering around the sea for a few days and nights, Fang Qingshan did not find anything, but when he was avoiding a storm, he suddenly found his destination. He did not know whether to say that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, or that Fang Qingshan was lucky. However, luck definitely played a big role. Although Fang Qingshan was not the son of Providence, his providence was so thick that it was probably not worse than Fang Han, Fang Qingxue, and Hua Tiandu. It was just that he was not favored by the will of heaven and earth. However, as long as it was not too troublesome, with the strength of his providence, he could naturally achieve what he wanted. Speaking of this side, Fang Qingshan coincidentally discovered the Death Island Master's lair, the Evil Spirit Gorge. Yes, this place was also called the Evil Spirit Gorge, which had the same name as the Snake King Temple in Shu Mountain. Although it's an evil spirit, it's my blessed land. Fang Qingshan chuckled, withdrew the five-cloud peach blossom miasma, and quietly approached. However, he saw that this place was a long gorge filled with black gas. It was unknown how long it was and how winding it was. Around the gorge, there were ferocious reefs and dangerous shoals. It seemed to be a natural maze, and one could not tell how big it was at first glance. It was also because of this natural maze that it was very difficult for people to discover this place. If it were not for the previous storm, Fang Qingshan would not have inadvertently discovered the strangeness of this place. Entering the Evil Spirit Gorge, there was immediately a deep and serene feeling. Black fog filled the air, and there were tall reefs, gorge, and roaring waves everywhere. This Death Island Master could also be considered talent. Taking advantage of the situation, he used this natural maze to set up small spells, set up illusions everywhere, and merged with the surrounding mountains, rivers, and reefs. He also used many magic treasures to conceal it. People below the heaven tier, without powerful special magic treasures, would easily fall into it, and in the end, they would be trampled upon. Unfortunately, he encountered Fang Qingshan. Fang Qingshan's sea of consciousness was suppressed by the all-heaven chessboard, a treasure, so how could mere small spells confuse him? And the pure yang flying sword in his dantian was the nemesis of these evil spirits. Therefore, after entering the gorge, Fang Qingshan easily arrived at the core of the Death Island Master's lair, the Death Palace, as if there was no one there. The Death Island Master probably relied too much on this natural maze and felt that it was impossible for someone to come to the Death Palace quietly, or perhaps the many years of safety had made him let down his guard. In any case, Fang Qingshan almost effortlessly arrived near the Death God Palace. The crisis of death was slowly approaching, but the Death Island Master did not notice it at all. Chapter 128. There was one bad thing about the immortal world, and that was that without reaching the celestial realm, one could not set up a formation at all. Therefore, without reaching the celestial realm, one could not refine spirit tools. Without reaching the celestial realm, one could not even guarantee the safety of one's residence. The evil spirit gorge was fine because there was a natural maze, and the island master took advantage of the situation, so when the time came, it would be a very good defensive circle. Unfortunately, after breaking through this defensive circle, the life-ending palace would be flat, and there would be no danger to defend. However, this was exactly what Fang Qingshan wanted. Otherwise, if it was like Shu Mountain, where any cave abode was densely covered with formations and restrictions, how could he play happily? Although the life-ending palace in front of him looked high-end and grand, it was just a secular thing. In the cultivation world, it could not even be considered a spirit tool. Fang Qingshan did not say anything and directly struck out with his palm. Rumble. It was really a case of people sitting at home and disaster coming from the sky. The island master didn't expect that someone would come to such a secret place without making a sound. He, who was in the middle of cultivating, was caught off guard and directly suffered the backlash of his cultivation method. Fortunately, he did not go into seclusion and only meditated normally. Otherwise, he would not be able to bear the consequences. "How dare you? I'm going to kill you." A middle-aged man dressed in black, with 3 strands of long beard and purple-black skin, who seemed to be basking in the sun all year round or practicing some kind of strange technique, flew out of the ruins in a fluster and exasperation. Seeing Fang Qingshan, the main culprit, he directly used his special ability, the Heavenly Dipper Death Hand. From this, it could be seen how much the island master hated Fang Qingshan in his heart. However, the earth energy around the island master's body surged, and a protective earth energy automatically formed. A milky white palm slapped towards Fang Qingshan. This palm was very strange. It actually only had 3 fingers like a bird's claw. On the 3 fingers, there were runes twisted with earth energy, forming 3 words: death, break, cripple. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan did not dodge. A 5-colored light flashed in his eyes, and he waved one hand. Pa! Like a taiji whip, it lashed through the air and sprinkled a 5-colored brilliance. It was the sequential heaven and earth 5 elements Jinshi that Fang Qingshan cultivated. Boom! With a loud bang, the 2 of them trembled at the same time and flew back. Although Fang Qingshan was only at the True Qi realm, which was a level lower than the Life Island Master, he cultivated the heaven and earth 5 elements True Qi, which was of high quality. Even if it was only at the initial stage, and he had not smelted all kinds of 5 elements heaven and earth treasures into it, it was definitely not inferior to the Life Island Master's True Qi. Although Death Island Master was just a rogue cultivator, it was already very good for him to be able to get to where he was. Even the 10 immortal Dao sects like Myriad returning Immortal Island had a wanted order for him. One had to know that it was already not bad for ordinary itinerant cultivators to be able to cultivate to the level of supernatural powers. Not only did he manage to turn the fake into the real, but he even managed to cultivate stellar energy. It could be said that he was blessed with great talent. Therefore, this time, neither of them could do anything to the other. They were evenly matched. Damn it, where did this little monster come from? Not only did he break through to the divine secret realm at such a young age, he actually managed to turn the fake into the real, and the quality of his True Qi is so high. The collision just now finally calmed down the Life Island Master's mood. The reason he could live freely in the sinkhole was naturally not just because of his strength. The ways of the world and his eyesight were indispensable, and they were even more important than strength. In the beginning, he was only angry because someone broke into his lair and wanted to destroy it. At the same time, he wanted to silence them. At this moment, when he saw Fang Qingshan make a move, he had a bad feeling in his heart. At such a young age, his cultivation was so high, and the quality of his True Qi was so strong. It was obviously not something an itinerant cultivator, like him, could compare to. If he was not an itinerant cultivator, then the situation was self-evident. Who are you? Why did you break into my cave abode without distinguishing between right and wrong? Death Island Master still held a trace of hope in his heart as he said in a deep voice. Emergent Sect's true disciple, Fang Qingshan. Fang Qingshan said lightly. As for not distinguishing between right and wrong, is there a need to distinguish between right and wrong when dealing with a notorious 40 thieves like you? Emergent sect's true disciple. The Life Island Master's heart couldn't help but sink when his luck was broken. I have no enmity with you in the past. Do you really want to make life difficult for me? As an itinerant cultivator, as long as he was not a giant, no matter how powerful his cultivation was, he obviously had a lot of misgivings when facing a colossus like the 10 immortal Dao sects. This was because if he beat the young, the old would come. If he killed one of them, he would definitely be endlessly hunted down. Therefore, if he could turn hostility into friendship, it was best to bury the hatchet. Although he was at a disadvantage, the Life Island Master still tried his best to speak. This is interesting. I wonder if the people you robbed and killed in the past have deep enmity with you? Fang Qingshan chuckled. Don't be delusional. Since I'm here today, don't think that you can get away with it. Be smart and commit suicide as an apology. Otherwise, Good. What a great emergent sect's true disciple. Do you really think you can defeat me? Although the Life Island Master had too many misgivings at first, it was only for long-term considerations. As one of the infamous 40 bandits, he was not a soft-hearted person. After hearing Fang Qingshan's words, he knew that he could not be kind today. His heart hardened, and his eyes revealed an ominous glint. There was a trace of a grin on his face, and he instantly revealed his true nature. He stretched out his hand, and from the ruins, a large cauldron soared into the sky. The cauldron that Hong Changbao gave to Fang Qingshan paled in comparison. Fang Qingshan knew that this should be the 5 Hell King cauldron. However, this object was extremely powerful. Astral energy surrounded it, and the airflow was swirling, bringing with it the sound of a fierce wind. It seemed that there was a faint treasure light, and there was a refreshing fragrance lingering in the air. Fang Qingshan nodded his head repeatedly. He had long regarded the Life Island Master's items as his own. He also had the pill book inheritance of the pure young immortal, and he was lacking a good cauldron. The one that Hong Changbao gave him was too low, and because it contained the 5-cloud peach blossom miasma, it was already somewhat damaged. Go! The Life Island Master looked at Fang Qingshan ferociously. He gathered his remaining strength and directly smashed the 5 Hell King cauldron in his hand towards Fang Qingshan like a mountain. Rumble. There was a series of sonic booms in the air. From afar, it was not a cauldron, but a volcano pressing down. Good. Fang Qingshan was not surprised when he saw this. Instead, he was happy. Among magic treasures, cauldrons, pagodas, and bells had top-notch defensive power. Suicide Island mainly used the 5 Hell King cauldron as a defensive Dharma treasure. If he competed with him in magical powers or used the restrictions in the 5 Hell King cauldron, it would be a little troublesome for him to deal with him. But now he had cut off his way out. Chapter 129. Go! Fang Qingshan's heart stirred, and the 5-colored feather cloak on his body suddenly flew out. It shone brightly and expanded with the wind. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a sea of smoke that reached the sky and covered the ground. Although the 5 Hell King cauldron was tough and unbeatable, it felt like it had fallen into a swamp when it fell into the 5-cloud peach flower miasma. Not only was it weak, but wisps of miasma wrapped around the cauldron, dragging it down bit by bit. The Life Despair Island Master originally had high hopes for the 5 Hell King cauldron. In his life, he had made his fortune from the 5 Hell King cauldron. Otherwise, it was already a blessing for an ordinary person to cultivate Dharma power. How could he have cultivated Gangqi? It should be known that among the true disciples of a major immortal sect like the Emergent sect, only Hua Tiandu was lucky enough to inherit Venerable Pan Wu's Dao artifact. Others such as Dongling Xiao, Shi Jialan, Nanwan Luo, and Bei Yaoguang were still using precious artifact-level pill furnaces. Among the magic treasures, although the difference in quality depended on their respective grades. However, among the same batch, the most common magical treasures were furnaces, cauldrons, bells, and pagodas. Moreover, The 5 Hell King Cauldron of the Death Island Master was not only used for alchemy. Just like Taishang Laojuan's 8 trigrams alchemy cauldron, just the Samadhi true fire alone was enough to burn the golden immortal sun Wukong to death if it wasn't for him controlling it. Red Boy had only comprehended the supernatural power of Samadhi true fire because of the flames on some bricks in the 8 trigrams alchemy cauldron. That was why Monkey Sun was helpless. The Life Despair Island Master's 5 Hell King Cauldron was covered with hundreds and thousands of great arrays. Once it was completely activated, its power was self-evident. At this moment, the Island Master naturally also felt that the 5 Hell King Cauldron was gradually beginning to lose control of it. He was immediately shocked. This was his special magic treasure. Without any time to think, Zhang Xian made a hand seal to retrieve the 5 Hell King Cauldron. Unfortunately, it was easy to come, but difficult to go. It was easy to smash people, but it was difficult to get it back. The 5 Hell King's Cauldron. When the Life Despair Island Master saw the situation, he roared loudly, and the spell in his hand changed. The 5 Hell King Cauldron, which was entangled by the 5 Cloud Peach Flower miasma, suddenly paused and then rotated. Bang! 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 The miasma surrounding it actually began to break apart inch by inch. Interesting. When Fang Qingshan saw this, his mind stirred. The 5 Cloud Peach Blossom miasma was like a silkworm spitting silk. One strand was broken, followed by 10 or 8 strands. More miasma and smoke wrapped around the pill furnace like an octopus, wrapping the 5 Hell King tripod tightly. Damn it! The Island Master originally saw that the 5 Hell King Cauldron was about to escape, but he didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, he would fall short of success. Unable to care too much, he cast a spell. The 5 Hell King Cauldron shook like a volcano erupting. In an instant, a sea of fire shot out. A bolt from the blue. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. The heavens fell and the earth cracked. It was a magnificent sight to behold. The refinement of the pill furnace not only required setting up all sorts of large arrays, but it also required gathering superior spiritual fire. After all, apart from a few methods, alchemy didn't require fire. It was just like the Samadhi true fire in the Grand Supreme Elder's 8 trigrams alchemy furnace. The Island Master's 5 Hell King Cauldron naturally had all kinds of spirit fires. Although it couldn't compare to the Grand Supreme Lord's Samadhi true fire, it was still a very good existence. The Island Master originally thought that smoke and cloud-type magic treasures were most afraid of being burned by fire, and the flames in his 5 Hell King Cauldron were superb, so he would definitely be able to succeed in one fell swoop. However, he didn't expect that things would turn out contrary to his wishes. The reason why Fang Qingshan valued the 5 Cloud Peach Blossom miasma was that although it was refined from miasma, it was impervious to swords and spears and impervious to water and fire. It was not restrained by any fire or pure yang treasure at all. Therefore, the Island Master's actions were destined not to get what he wanted. Sure enough, although the flame attack that erupted from the 5 Hell King Cauldron was earth-shattering, the 5 Cloud Peach Blossom miasma had no other effect other than bursting out with a firework-like brilliance. The Island Master obviously couldn't accept this. At this time, the spells in his hands were activated again and again, but unfortunately, there was no effect at all. At the same time, what he didn't know was that wisps of black gas had begun to appear on his face. This was another effect of the 5 Cloud Peach Blossom miasma, which was the Earth Fiend poison and miasma. Back then, Ling Xiahong had been poisoned to death on the spot because she absorbed too much. Although Fang Qingshan's 5 Cloud Peach Blossom miasma couldn't compare to the Rotten Peach Mountains miasma, the Island Master's couldn't be compared to Ling Xiahong's. At first, because he didn't absorb much, coupled with the suppression of the magical power, he didn't feel it. Now, because of the 5 Hell King Cauldron, he was so angry that the poison took advantage of the situation. The Island Master's vision turned black, and he staggered and fell to the ground. You're a dignified disciple of an immortal sect, but you actually used poison. The Island Master finally panicked. The 5 Hell King Cauldron was lost, and he was poisoned. He didn't have time to think too much, so he turned around and wanted to run. As long as a black or white cat catches a mouse, it's a good cat. Who cares if it's poisonous or not? Fang Qingshan didn't care about this at all. Seeing that the island master wanted to run, he couldn't help but sneer. Naive, Fang Qingshan raised his hand, and a rain of 5-colored embroidery needles fell. This was the magical power condensed from the primordial and acquired 5 elements true Qi, the great 5 elements annihilation needles. They shot out, and their power was concentrated to the extreme. They were as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, he had caught up with Suicide Island Master. Puff, puff, puff. The Island Master didn't even have time to scream. His body, magical power, and even his soul all disappeared. This was the tyrannical power of the 5 elements extermination needles. Not bad, not bad. Fang Qingshan nodded his head in satisfaction when he saw how domineering his mystic art was after just a small demonstration of its power. This was because his sequential heaven and earth quintessential Qi had just reached the threshold. Once he refined many 5 elements treasures, the power of his magical power would naturally increase day by day. At that time, without a high-grade treasure to protect himself, he might not even be able to take a needle from him. Damn it! Suddenly, Fang Qingshan slapped his forehead and cried out in annoyance. He was happy, but without the head of the island master, what could he use to claim the reward? Sigh, what a pity. I don't know if the people of 10,000 Returns Immortal Island will admit it if I take other things. Fang Qingshan hesitated for a moment and then put the matter to the back of his mind. Without the control of the island master, the 5 Hell King Cauldron was easily taken away by Fang Qingshan. Although the fight between him and the island master wasn't long, and there was a natural maze outside, he was still afraid that a long night would bring trouble. Therefore, after Fang Qingshan put away the 5 Hell King Cauldron, he quickly cleaned up the life-ending palace and swept away all the valuable things. Then, he quickly left the scene. Although he wasn't afraid of encountering someone halfway, it was better to avoid trouble. Chapter 130. Far away from the evil spirit gorge, Fang Qingshan found a desolate island and landed. He was not in a hurry to rush to the 10,000 returns market. Instead, he was going to refine the 5 Hell King Cauldron first. The reason why he was so eager was that the 5 Hell King Cauldron was not only a pill furnace, but it could also be used as a Sumeru treasure. What Fang Qingshan lacked the most now was a storage treasure that could hold things. The 5 Hell King Cauldron was like a pillow when he dozed off. With it, he didn't have to carry so many burdens around. Not only was it inconvenient, but it was also eye-catching. The island master was indeed one of the 40 great overseas bandits. He was so notorious that even the 10,000 Returns Immortal Island wanted to capture him. Fang Qingshan was afraid that a long night would bring trouble, so he hastily swept away all the treasures in the Palace of Despair, but he didn't have time to look at them. At this moment, after refining the 5 Hell King Cauldron, he couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Not to mention the treasure artifacts. Just the 5 Hell King Cauldron alone made Fang Qingshan's trip not in vain. The emergent sect was so big, with more than 100 true disciples, but there were less than 10 treasured artifact-level pill furnaces. In particular, the treasure of the Island Master was not an ordinary treasure, but a supreme-grade treasure artifact. It was one step away from becoming a Dao artifact, and it was not inferior to Fang Qingshan's 5-cloud peach blossom miasma. In addition, there were the 36 flying swords of the Heaven-Severing Demon Sect's Heaven-Severing Sword Array. The Island Master had betrayed the Heaven-Severing Demon Sect and escaped, so it was not surprising that he had them. Unfortunately, he still lacked the Heaven-Severing Sword Array. Otherwise, the array with the flying swords would more than double its power. In addition, there were the Heaven-Severing Demon Sect's Golden Elixir, 10 purple gold gourds, and more than 20 spirit artifact Dharma robes, all of which were of high quality. There were also many treasures of heaven and earth. Finally, there was a demonic scripture which recorded the Island Master's special magical ability, the Heaven Dipper killing hand. Although this magical ability was good, Fang Qingshan only glanced at it briefly and put it aside. Because he was only at the Qi realm, he had just started cultivating the heaven-severing 5-element Qi. Moreover, it would take a lot of effort to cultivate a divine ability to the large success stage. Therefore, many Golden Core experts only had a dozen or 20 Golden Core divine abilities. Therefore, to Fang Qingshan, unless it was necessary, he did not need to practice ordinary supernatural powers at all. In the future, he could imitate Fang Han and directly seize it. Good lad, a horse will not get fat without night grass, and a man will not get rich without a windfall. Looking at the harvest this time, Fang Qingshan could not help but sigh. The Life-Death Island Master was merely one of the last ranked in the 40 Great Bandits, and he already had this collection. Then what about those ranked in front of him? Thinking of Fang Qingshan, he couldn't help but feel excited, wishing that he could capture all of them in one go. Of course, it was just a thought. Snakes have their ways, and rats have their ways. The reason why these bandits could roam freely in the sinkhole for so long was naturally because they had their own methods of survival. Not to mention the fact that he did not know where these people's lair was. Just the Life-Death Island Master, who was ranked at the bottom, had a cultivation level of earth energy. How could he deal with those ranked at the top with his current cultivation level? Although Fang Qingshan was not necessarily afraid of them with the pure yang flying sword, unless he encountered them head-on or happened to know their lair like the Life-Death Island Master. Otherwise, it would not be worth it to search around and kill them. If I sell all these things, I should be able to buy what I want. Thinking of this, Fang Qingshan did not stay on the deserted island any longer. He identified the direction and went straight to the South Sea continent according to the sea map recorded in the various worlds. That was where the Myriad Returns sea market was located. Since it was called a continent, it was naturally not something that an island could compare to. From afar, Fang Qingshan saw a vast continent floating on the ocean. There seemed to be a city, population, and shops on it. Along the coast, there were countless ships anchored or coming and going. It was 10 times more prosperous than the Dragon Lake province where his Fang family was located. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan was not ignorant. After taking a look, he went straight to the continent. According to the records of the various worlds, the largest shop in the Myriad Returns sea market was called the Black Tortoise Pavilion, which was opened by the Myriad Returns Immortal Island itself. Whether one wanted to buy Dharma treasures, spirit pills, medicinal herbs, or sell all kinds of treasures, this place could satisfy one's needs. Whether it was because Fang Qingshan wanted to receive the reward for killing Despairal's master, or because he wanted to purchase 5 elements heaven and earth treasures, or even because of the World Trees fragment, he had no choice but to make a trip to the Black Tortoise Pavilion. Therefore, without hesitation, Fang Qingshan walked straight to the Black Tortoise Pavilion. Greetings, young master. May I know which sect you are from, or are you an itinerant cultivator? Are you here to sell things, or are you here to buy things? As soon as Fang Qingshan approached the Black Tortoise Pavilion, a disciple wearing a Dharma robe and holding a horsetail whisk greeted him. I'm Fang Qingshan, a true disciple of the Emergent sect. I came to the Black Tortoise Pavilion to buy and sell things, and, at the same time, to receive a reward. Fang Qingshan said lightly. Ah, a true disciple. The disciple of the Black Tortoise Pavilion was shocked when he heard this. He quickly shouted politely, "There's a distinguished guest." Not long after, a man with a body as straight as a javelin, naturally exuding a dignified aura, surrounded by a group of welcoming disciples, arrived in front of Fang Qingshan. I'm Haishan, a true disciple of the Myriad Returns Immortal Island. I didn't know that the Taoist of the Emergent sect was coming. Please, Taoist Haishan is too polite. Fang Qingshan's eyes lit up when he heard the person's self-introduction. He knew that it was this Haishan who failed to recognize the golden inlaid jade and mistakenly bought the fragment of the world tree as an ordinary treasure. Taoist looks unfamiliar. His name is similar to Fang Qingshue's Taoist from the Emergent sect. Haishan led Fang Qingshan toward the secret chamber as he chatted with him. I've just advanced to the god's secret realm not long ago, so it's normal that I'm unfamiliar with Taoist. As for Fang Qingxue, she's my elder sister. Fang Qingshan said calmly. Oh, Taoist, is Fang Qingxue's younger brother? Sorry for not recognizing you. Haishan became even more enthusiastic when he heard that Fang Qingshan was Fang Qingxue's younger brother. As a disciple of the Myriad Returns Immortal Island, how could Haishan not know that Fang Qingxue and Ying Tianqing had created such a huge scene in the bottomless ruins? There. Fang Qingshan waved his hand. Come, please have some tea. When they arrived at the secret chamber, the door was slowly closed. Haishan personally brewed a cup of tea and said, Thank you. Fang Qingshan nodded and thanked him. He gently took a sip, and the fragrance immediately lingered in his mouth. A refreshing coolness entered his throat and refreshed his mind. He couldn't help but praise it. Great tea. After a while, the two of them chatted for a while before Haishan asked, I wonder how Fang Daoist can help you with your visit to the mysterious Tortoise Pavilion. Chapter 131. I heard that the 10,000 returning Immortal Island issued a wanted order for the 40 great bandits. I'm here to receive the reward. Fang Qingshan put down his teacup and chuckled. Oh, which thief did Fang Daoist capture? Haishan didn't expect that someone would capture the person as soon as the wanted order was issued. Moreover, it wasn't someone from overseas, but someone from the emergent sect. He couldn't help but ask curiously, Island Master? Fang Qingshan smiled. So, it's him. Haishan came to a sudden realization. Then, he praised, Fellow Fang, you're indeed powerful. Although the Island Master is ranked at the bottom, he's from the heaven-ending demon sect and has Gang Chi cultivation. I didn't expect him to be defeated by you. Opportunity, it's just luck. Fang Qingshan said casually. Is the head of the Island Master here? Haishan shook his head and ignored Fang Qingshan's modesty. His head is gone. Fang Qingshan smiled awkwardly and then took out a book. I wonder if this can be used as a replacement? Heavenly Dipper, Fatal Palm. Haishan frowned when he heard that Fang Qingshan didn't have the head of the Island Master. It wasn't that he thought that Fang Qingshan was fooling him. After all, he was a disciple of the emergent sect. It was impossible for him to lie for such a thing. It was just that it was a little troublesome. He casually glanced at the book that Fang Qingshan took out, and his body suddenly trembled. It was written, Heavenly Dipper, Fatal Palm. This was the unique skill of the Island Master. If this magical power was in the hands of Fang Qingshan, then the fate of the Island Master was self-evident. Seeing that Haishan did not speak immediately, Fang Qingshan waved his hand and took out the 36 flying swords from the heaven-severing demon sect's heaven-severing sword formation, the 10 purple gold gourds, the life-prolonging golden elixir of the heaven-severing demon sect, and more than 20 spiritual artifact dharma robes from the 5 hell cauldron. For a moment, there was a dazzling array of treasures. Will these things be enough? Fang Qingshan asked. Enough. Originally, when he saw the Heavenly Dipper life-ending hand, Haishan had already recognized Fang Qingshan as the one who killed the life-ending Island Master. However, he didn't expect that after a slight hesitation, Fang Qingshan would throw out so many things. That's good. Fang Qingshan said with a smile. After all, the head of the Death Island Master was also very valuable. If he wanted to buy the 5 elemental treasures, he would have to spend a lot of money. The reason I came to the Black Tortoise Hall this time, other than to collect my reward, is to deal with these things. Fang Qingshan pointed at the pills and magic treasures floating in the air. It might be very precious in the eyes of others, but to Fang Qingshan, it had no use other than to exchange for money. Also, I would like to purchase some heavenly treasures of the 5 elements here. Oh, 5-element heavenly materials and earthly treasures? A shrewd light flashed through Haishan's eyes, and he suddenly smiled. It's better to come at the right time than to come early. It just so happens that I have a wood attribute heavenly material and earthly treasure that satisfies your request. With that, Haishan waved his hand, and a piece of wood flew into his hand. This piece of wood was the size of a palm, twisted and looked like a human. It looked a little like ginseng, but it didn't have roots. The wood was purple-black like red sandalwood, but not red sandalwood. Haishan held in his hand and felt that it was extremely heavy. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan lowered his eyes, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Other heavenly materials and earthly treasures of the five elements were fine, but the fragment of the world tree was his main purpose this time. Although it was only a fragment, he still had to see what it was. The world tree was like Mount Buzhou, an existence that could support the entire world. It was a treasure comparable to a top-grade Khanate spirit root. Even if it was just a fragment, it was still extremely precious. If he could resurrect it like Fong Han, the old tree would sprout new buds and the withered tree would be revived. If he cultivated it, it would be amazing. Whether it was using it like Fong Han or opening the world in the future, it would be an excellent choice. However, Fang Qingshan suppressed the joy in his heart. He couldn't let Haishan see it now. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if the price increase was small. Fang Qingshan stretched out his hand, and as soon as he grabbed it, he felt his wrist sink. He knew in advance that this thing was not simple, so he used all his strength, but he didn't expect it to still sink. Such a small piece of wood was actually 4,000 or 5,000 kilograms. It was indeed a fragment of the world tree. However, in Haishan's eyes, his pupils constricted. Previously, when Fang Qingshan killed the master of Suicide Island, he didn't take it to heart. After all, although the master of Suicide Island was ferocious and was also from the Devil's Sect, he was only a rogue cultivator and was only at the Earth Energy realm. It would not be difficult to beat him. After all, in addition to strength, the 40 great pirates of the seas were most free and unfettered. They didn't provoke people they couldn't afford to provoke, and their lair was hidden. Just now, when Fang Qingshan took it without knowing the true situation of this strange fragment, he only slightly sank his hand. What did this mean? This meant that not only was Fang Qingshan's magical power and vital energy strong, his body was equally strong. After all, the physical body was a treasured vessel that could cross the world. The stronger the vital energy and magical power, the stronger the corresponding physical body would be. Fang Qingshan took the fragment of the world tree. At first, he was shocked, then he was happy. Suddenly, he frowned. Of course, this was just for Haishan to see. He was shocked that this thing was so small and yet so heavy. He was happy that this piece of wood was extremely condensed, and the quality of the wood attribute spiritual qi was very high. The reason he frowned was naturally because he could not absorb it and could not cultivate. I wonder how much Taoist Hai thinks this thing is worth. Fang Qingshan put down the wood and asked expressionlessly, "This?" When Haishan saw Fang Qingshan like this, he naturally knew that he had discovered the situation of this piece of wood. He smiled awkwardly but still explained, "Fang Taoist, you must not be deceived by the appearance of this piece of wood. Although I don't know the true situation of this thing, it is invulnerable to weapons, water, and fire. It must be a priceless treasure. The Taoist needs the 5 elements of heaven and earth, and this thing is the most precious of the wood attribute. Invulnerable to weapons, water, and fire is indeed so. Because of this, I can't refine it. I can only treat it as an ornament and leave it on the shelf," Fang Qingshan said lightly. "Let's not talk about anything else. Taoist, tell me how much this thing is worth." Seeing that Fang Qingshan directly asked for the price, Haishan thought about it, looked at Fang Qingshan, and said tentatively, 30 spiritual weapons. Fang Qingshan chuckled and did not deny it. 25? Haishan saw Fang Qingshan's expression and immediately lowered the price. Unfortunately, seeing that Fang Qingshan was still indifferent, he could only ask, "How much is the Taoist willing to pay?" 5 spiritual weapons. Fang Qingshan stretched out his hand and said lightly. Chapter 132. 5 Spiritual Weapons. Haishan was stunned. He knew that Fang Qingshan would definitely bargain with him. After all, he was just asking for a sky-high price. However, he didn't expect Fang Qingshan to be so ruthless, so he shook his head. Brother Fong, you're too much. Although I can't see anything special about this item now, it's still a rare treasure based on its nature. How can 5 spiritual weapons compare to it? How about this? Since it's our first time meeting, and I haven't congratulated Brother Fong on advancing to the God's true inheritance, I'll give you a discount. How about 20 spiritual weapons? Haishan paused and continued. Since it's so precious, why don't you keep it and wait for the future, Brother Hai? Fong Qingshan said casually. This, Haishan couldn't help but smile bitterly. If it wasn't for the fact that he had tested it countless times without any reaction, why would he be willing to exchange it? As the saying goes, heaven and earth treasures belong to those who are fated. I can't solve it, which means I'm not fated. After meeting Brother Fong today, I feel that you're fated with this item, so I'm willing to sell it to you. Hearing Haishan's words, Fong Qingshan couldn't help but look at him with a strange expression. Good Lord, he even said that it was fated. Forget it. Since Brother Hai is so kind, if I don't show some sincerity, I'll be too ungrateful. Fong Qingshan sighed. How about this? I'll give you 10 spiritual weapons as a token of my friendship. How about that? How about that? What else could he do? At this point, Haishan could only pinch his nose and accept it. At least he had earned 10 spiritual weapons. If they fell into his hands, they would just be tasteless and a pity to throw away. After exchanging the fragment of the world tree, Haishan took out a bunch of treasures of the 5 elements, such as 800-year-old Romania, diamond earth, earth flame gold, 1,000-year bumpkin, 1,000-year gold silver pangolin, soaring snake, gradient earthworm, sunflower jellyfish, blue lightning jellyfish, purple cloud jellyfish, sea god jellyfish, golden jellyfish, silver jellyfish, star jellyfish, and so on. After leaving the mysterious tortoise pavilion, Fong Qingshan had nothing but a limited number of treasures. However, when he sensed the 5 elemental treasures in the cauldron of 5 hell, he could not help but smile. This was especially true for the fragment of the world tree, which Fong Qingshan had originally intended to refine into his 5 elements true qi. Later on, he felt that this was very inappropriate. First of all, he had tried to refine the world tree fragment with his subsequent heaven and earth 5 elements essential qi. Then, there was his subsequent heaven and earth 5 elements essential qi. If his wood element essential qi condensed the fragment of the world tree, then the other meridians of essential qi would not be able to refine the same level of heaven and earth treasures. The 5 elements would be out of balance, and the loss would outweigh the gain. It was not easy to find a heaven and earth treasure of the same level as the world tree. Even though Fong Qingshan was sitting on the throne of the myriad worlds, and it wasn't impossible for him to really come up with a plan, it was something that would require a lot of time and effort. Although it was important to lay a foundation, he could not overdo it. Otherwise, there would be regrets. Therefore, Fong Qingshan decided to refine the other 5 elements heaven and earth treasures first, so that the 5 elements essential qi could advance at the same time. As for the fragment of the world tree, he would imitate Fong Han and breed it again. This way, not only could he obtain a seedling of a top primordial spiritual root, but he could also break off a branch and refine it if he needed to refine higher-level heaven and earth treasures in the future. One was to kill the goose that laid the golden eggs, and it would not succeed. The other was to grow with him. Even if he became an immortal, the world tree would still be of great use. Comparing the two, no matter who it was, they would make the right choice. However, if I want to breed the fragment of the world tree again, I will need to find some 9 solar holy water. Fong Qingshan thought carefully. There were many ways for Fong Qingshan to turn the fragment of the world tree into a seedling again. He could use the art of creation, triple light, holy water, etc. But these methods either required too much, or the treasures were too hard to come by. Fortunately, the 9 solar holy water could also be used. After all, Fong Han had used it to succeed on the original track. Every drop of the 9 solar holy water was extremely precious. It was refined by a master in the secret realm of longevity. It could be used to refine elixirs or dharma treasures. It was very effective, and it felt like a jack of all trades. Fang Qingshan remembered that the seven-leaf demon king seemed to have a bowl of 9 solar holy water. Fang Han had used it against him to successfully breed the world tree. It seems like this seven-leaf demon king is my next target. Fang Qingshan let out a long sigh. He thought of the 9 solar holy water and Fang Han. Suddenly, he remembered that he also had a treasure in his possession. It was the number 1 holy water in the world, the love-forgetting water. If he could get his hands on the love-forgetting water and fuse it into his 5 elements true qi, it would save him a lot of effort. But before that, I have to breed the world tree. By then, he would be able to fuse the 2 top-grade treasures of water and wood. Water and wood would complement each other, and he would not have to worry about the imbalance of the 5 elements true qi. Also, since I have so many 5 elements natural treasures, I should make a breakthrough in my cultivation and refine my mystique. Thinking of this, Fang Qingshan immediately rode the 5-cloud peach blossom miasma far away from the 10,000 returns market. He landed on a remote island and sprinkled the 5-cloud peach blossom miasma to form a line of defense. Then, he took out the 5 Hell King's cauldron and entered it. He began to smelt the 5 elements natural treasures and 5 elements true qi together. Among the 5 elements, the earth element was virtuous. The first thing Fang Qingshan smelted was the earth element true qi. Fang Qingshan mobilized the 5 Hell King cauldron and calcined the Vajra soil, soaring serpent, lunar earth dragon earthworm, and other heavenly materials and earthly treasures with the crushing array and alchemy array in the cauldron. All medicines were poisonous. Not all natural treasures were beneficial to one's body. He used the crushing array and refining array to remove the impurities. Moreover, after refining it with the cauldron, it would be twice the result with half the effort when fusing it with the 5 elemental true qi. Sure enough, after being processed by the cauldron, there were only streaks of pure, fragrant, earthy, yellow spiritual qi rolling in midair. Good. At the sight of this, Fang Qingshan could not help but exclaim in admiration. Then he opened his mouth and swallowed all the earth spirit qi in one breath like a Kuin Peng swallowing a whale. For a moment, Fang Qingshan felt as if he was about to be petrified. His heart trembled, and he didn't dare to be negligent. He quickly circulated the 9 heavens' 5 elements true qi. In an instant, every inch of Fang Qingshan's flesh and blood, bones, and internal organs turned yellow and had the fragrance of the earth. From the outside, those who didn't know would think that it was a huge mountain. Chapter 133. The heavens are vigorous, so is the gentleman. The earth is the earth, so is the gentleman. As the earth element treasures and the 5 elements true qi melted together, Fang Qingshan felt as if he had turned into an ancient giant mountain, with the sky above his head, his roots connected to the yellow springs, and he was indomitable. Earth, tolerance, bearing, defense, mercy, and many other profound meanings surged into his mind. Originally, the 5 elements true qi was like smoke and clouds, but as the earth element treasures melted, it began to change into water. Faintly, one could hear the sound of flowing water in Fang Qingshan's body. As time went by, his magic power was still increasing, and even the speed of devouring the spiritual qi of heaven and earth couldn't keep up with the speed of the transformation of his magic power. Fang Qingshan immediately took out a pure yang golden pill and swallowed it without any hesitation. In a split second, the tsunami-like spiritual qi and the earth element spiritual qi crushed all the way, increasing the true qi and magic power while tempering Fang Qingshan's body bit by bit. Because Fang Qingshan cultivated the dragon elephant prajna art and refined the dragon elephant blood essence of an earth immortal, his body was better than those born with divine strength. After breaking through the divine power, he cultivated the innate and acquired 5 elements true qi, a superior cultivation method that led directly to the immortal Tao. Now, he had condensed many treasures of heaven and earth. Originally, The first 3 levels of the divine power secret realm were just accumulation, and Fang Qingshan had been stuck in the true qi realm for a while. At this moment, as soon as the opportunity came, he heard a crisp cracking sound. It was the 5 elements true qi that began to turn from water to ice. This was another qualitative change. Wisps of the 5 elements true qi began to crystallize. Of course, because he was refining the earth element treasures of heaven and earth, the crystallization was the earth element of the 5 elements true qi. However, the 5 elements were mutually reinforcing and restraining. Since the earth element true qi had crystallized, the other meridians of true qi naturally began to crystallize. Good. Feeling the changes in his body, Fang Qingshan secretly exclaimed. He knew that this was a sign that he was about to break through the earth energy realm. For others, it was fine as long as there was a crystallization of their jinqi to astral energy. However, Fang Qingshan couldn't because he didn't cultivate 1 vein of true qi, but 5 elemental true qi. Although the earth attribute true qi had evolved, the other 4 veins hadn't. Therefore, it couldn't be called the Gangqi realm. Only when the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth had all evolved would he be able to break through. Metal begets water, water begets wood begets fire, fire begets earth, and earth begets metal. Fang Qingshan first smelted the earth attribute natural treasures. According to the principle of mutual promotion and restraint between the 5 elements, Fang Qingshan immediately took out the 1,000-year gold-silver pangolin, earth flame gold, 1,000-year sea core iron, and other metal attribute natural treasures and began smelting them according to the previous order. If it was said that the Earth Lord was in the center, ruling over the 4 directions, including the sea, then the Metal Lord was in charge of killing, destroying, commanding troops, and suppressing disobedient subjects. When refining the earth attribute natural treasures, Fang Qingshan felt himself stiffen inch by inch, petrified. But when refining the metal attribute natural treasures, he felt like he was being cut by 1,000 knives, walking through a storm of swords. Sharpness, killing, blood, destruction, and other metal attribute profoundness surged into his mind. Fortunately, with the previous experience of refining earth attribute natural treasures, Fang Qingshan was very familiar with the process of smelting the metal attribute natural treasures. If Fang Qingshan was like a towering mountain before, towering and suppressing all directions, then Fang Qingshan was like an unsheathed sword, shining coldly and showing off its sharpness. Vaguely, one could smell a fishy smell and hear the sound of war drums. After the metal attribute natural treasures, it was the water attribute natural treasures. For a moment, Fang Qingshan seemed to have turned into a vast ocean. The tides rose and fell, the seas rose and fell, the rivers gathered and swept across the world. The tide, ice, devour, contain, and other water attribute profoundness also surged into his mind, connecting with the earth attribute and metal attribute profoundness. Vaguely, the wood attribute and fire attribute profoundness also appeared. However, because he had not smelted the natural treasures yet, they seemed a little illusory. As time passed, Fang Qingshan was refining the 5 elemental natural treasures while immersing himself in the 5 elemental profoundness. Hot blood like a volcano gushed out from his heart and chest, turning into rolling clouds of fire. Above his liver, there was a towering tree, the top of his head growing and the bottom of his feet rooted to the ground, growing and multiplying endlessly. Above his stomach, there was an immemorial mountain, immovable like a mountain, suppressing the world. Above his lungs, there was a sword floating in the air, cold and sharp. Just one look, it would make one feel like being cut by 1,000 knives, making one shudder. As for his kidneys, there was a vast ocean, white waves surging into the sky, blue tides rising, changing unpredictably. Bang! At a certain moment, Fang Qingshan finally finished refining the 5 elemental natural treasures. The veritable qi in his body completely crystallized, officially entering the stellar energy realm. A ray of light shot out from each of his 5 internal organs, gathering above his head. For a moment, he saw volcanoes, tsunamis, mountains, trees, and swords floating in the air. Each took up a position and began to resist each other, but they were also interrelated, reinforcing and restraining each other. Finally, I made some progress with the 5 elemental true qi. Fang Qingshan opened his eyes and let out a long breath. Looking at the 5 phenomena above his head, he could not help but nod in satisfaction. Making small progress with the 5 elemental true qi was not as simple as breaking through the stellar energy realm. He had basically grasped all the 5 elemental mystic abilities recorded in the Hesha Wondrous Book. For example, the 5 elemental extermination needle, the 5 elemental evasion art, the 5 elemental thunder, and so on. However, with a thought from Fang Qingshan, the 5 phenomena above his head suddenly turned into embroidery needles made of cow hair. Although they were small, they were not to be underestimated. Before Fang Qingshan refined the natural treasures, the great 5 element extermination needles could already break through the body of Despair Island Lord, who did not have a treasure tool to protect himself and destroy his bones and soul. Now, their might was naturally several times stronger. Suddenly, the embroidery needles moved again, and the embroidery needles turned into thunderclouds. As lightning flashed, there was a vague image of the Lord of Thunder and the Lady of Lightning, looking imposing and tyrannical. Good. Although he had not tested their might, as their master, Fang Qingshan naturally knew how powerful the 5 elemental mystic abilities he cultivated were. He could not help but nod in satisfaction. With these mystic abilities, even if he did not use magic treasures, yin-yang, or even celestial being realm mystic abilities, he would not be afraid. If they dared to lower their guard when fighting him, they might end up suffering a setback. It's time to find a 7-leaf demon lord. Fang Qingshan's cultivation had broken through. Although he was only in the stellar energy realm, he was not afraid of celestial being realm mystic abilities. With the 5 cloud peach blossom miasma and the 5 hell king cauldron, as long as he did not encounter a golden core realm mystic ability, he would naturally not be at a disadvantage. Moreover, he had the pure yang flying sword with him, and he had also cultivated the pure yang sword art. If he was really provoked, he would take out his sword. Not to mention a golden core realm mystic ability, even a Dharma idol would not be able to do anything. Without a Tao artifact, especially a defensive Tao artifact, he would have to make a trip to the Yellow Springs. Chapter 134. Above the vast sea, a 5-colored beam of light streaked across the sky. As it stretched and shrank, it crossed thousands of mountains and rivers. One would have thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Fang Qingshan controlled the 5 peach blossom miasma and rushed straight to the flesh quagmire according to the records of the various worlds. He remembered that the 7-leaf demon lord was there. Although Fang Qingshan's 5 peach blossom miasma was not as good as the covering dust banner, he could travel thousands of miles in an instant with just a thought. However, it was still extremely fast. At least, it was faster than the 5 Hell King Cauldron. The 5 Hell King Cauldron had 36 acceleration arrays, including the Gale Devil Wave Array, the 7 Heavenly Escape Array, the Flying Phantom Array, and the Spatial Absorption Array. When activated together, he could travel thousands of miles in an instant. However, it would take a lot of energy to fully activate this treasure. If Fang Qingshan was like Fang Han, it would be good to capture some sky fiends to do hard labor. However, it was more suitable to control the 5 peach blossom miasma if he wanted to move freely. The flesh quagmire was located in the depths of the ocean. Those with a physical body realm would not be able to stay here for long. The weather was extremely cold. There were many icebergs, some of which were hundreds of feet high. They were majestic and magnificent. From afar, Fang Qingshan saw a large pitch-black cave in the distance. It was not the ocean. It was dark, and he did not know where it led to. "We're here." When Fang Qingshan saw this, his eyes lit up. Fang Qingshan knew that this was the entrance to the ultimate, the flesh quagmire. Fang Qingshan did not hesitate. With a thought, he controlled the 5-peach blossom miasma and entered. In an instant, Fang Qingshan did not know if his senses were distorted or if they were really distorted. He only felt that his body and the 5-peach blossom miasma were distorted. There was darkness in front of him. It was as if he had passed through the heavens. If not for the protection of the 5-peach blossom miasma, Fang Qingshan felt that he would be slightly injured, if not severely injured. Fortunately, this passage was not very deep. In a flash, Fang Qingshan felt his body relax. He broke free from the bondage, and what appeared in front of him was a desolate and decaying world. Vast, desolate, rotten, and dejected. It was as if desolation had never existed. The world was gray and gray. There were no stars, mountains, rivers, or vegetation, not to mention people. There was only the rotting swamp, and one big bubble after another on top of it. They bulged up in the swamp quagmire and exploded with a bang, releasing even more gray mist. This mist seemed to have some kind of demonic nature, constantly changing and condensing into all kinds of ferocious faces. Fang Qingshan seemed to have a feeling that he had returned to Rotten Peach Mountain. However, compared to Rotten Peach Mountain, the environment here was even worse. Without Shao Chun activating it, the 5-cloud peach blossom miasma began to slowly absorb the mist. The 5-cloud peach blossom miasma was concocted by Fang Qingshan using the essence of the Rotten Peach Mountain that had accumulated for thousands of years. The poisonous miasma contained in the miasma could even kill an earth immortal if they were not careful. He was like a fish in water in this flesh swamp. Fang Qingshan sensed that the 5-cloud peach flower miasma was automatically absorbing the mist from the flesh swamp. He did not stop it. Instead, he turned it into a whirlpool and sucked in the mist from all directions, replenishing the 5-cloud peach flower miasma. The flesh swamp was formed by the rotting flesh and blood of countless living beings. There were countless sky demons in the swamp, and the mist released after the bubbles in the flesh and blood swamp burst was their food. From time to time, heavenly demons would fly out of the black holes in the sky, grabbing all kinds of living beings and throwing them into the swamp. As soon as the creature fell into the swamp, it was immediately swallowed by the swamp. Following that, a large bubble rose up and exploded with a bang. Blood-red mist shot out of the bubble. Following that, the sky demons pounced forward one by one and sucked in all the blood-red mist. Then, their bodies seemed to become much stronger. But now, what was Fang Qingshan doing? He was snatching food from a tiger's mouth. Moreover, it was fine if he only absorbed it in a small area, but he actually took the initiative to activate the peach blossom miasma to envelop an area of thousands of miles. This angered everyone. In an instant, thousands of sky demons rushed over from all directions. They were densely packed, like locusts, and all of them made sinister sounds. Sky demons were best at attacking the primordial spirit and mind. Although these sky demons were not mental demons that blocked the path, they were not to be underestimated. Especially when their numbers reached a certain limit, quantitative change would lead to qualitative change, and their power would be incomparable. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan had the chessboard of all heavens in his mind, so these sky demons could not shake him at all. Humph! Fang Qingshan could not help but snort coldly. With a thought, the 5-Hell King Cauldron flew out from the top of his head. Fang Qingshan activated the enlargement, devouring, refining, and other formations. For a moment, the 5-Hell King Cauldron seemed to have become a Kuan Peng that could devour the heavens and the earth. The locust-like sky demons were like moths flying into a flame. No matter how many came, they were all devoured by the 5-Hell King Cauldron. The array formation refined them into pills. Devour, devour, devour. Sensing that the pills in the 5-Hell King Cauldron were raining down, Fang Qingshan was overjoyed. Although these pills were useless to him, there were many of them. He could not use them himself, but he could use them as rewards or sell them. Money was not everything, but it was impossible to do without money. And the currency of the cultivation world was these pills and treasures. When he first came to the sinkhole, he had to rob people to buy 5 elemental treasures. No one could be a hero without money. There were so many sky demons here, and he had the 5 Hell King Cauldron, an alchemy treasure. How could he let go of such a great opportunity? If the heavens did not give him a gift, he would be the one to blame. Fang Qingshan not only activated the 5 Hell King Cauldron, but also activated the 5 Cloud Peach Blossom Miasma. It not only devoured the mist, but also the sky demons. It even devoured the mud in the flesh swamp. This movement was huge. The pills in the 5 Hell King Cauldron rained down on the banana leaves. Outside, a huge vortex was formed with Fang Qingshan as the center, devouring all the mist, flesh, mud, sky demons, and so on within a radius of thousands of miles. Of course, he was happy. Although it was not as good as robbing the Island Master, it was almost the same without the 5 Hell King Cauldron. Fang Qingshan's movement was so big that the sky demons seemed to have met their natural enemy. They fled in all directions, naturally attracting the attention of the demon kings in the depths of the flesh swamp. Fang Qingshan did not care about this at all. As long as there were no experts in the secret realm of longevity, he did not have to worry about his safety at all. In addition, the reason why he made such a big commotion was because he wanted to lure the snake out of its hole. After all, although he knew that the 7-leaf Demon King was here, he did not know the specific location. It was difficult for him to find it, so it was better to be safe and wait for him to be exhausted. At the same time, he could make some extra money. Chapter 135. In the depths of the flesh swamp, Dark Cloud's castle hovered in midair. It was a majestic sight to behold. At this moment, the central hall of the castle was filled with chatter and laughter. A young man sat in the middle. He was extremely handsome with a high nose bridge. He wore an embroidered silver robe and a crown on his head. He looked like the crown prince of some dynasty. Moreover, this young man's aura was very powerful. He sat there like a mountain, making it impossible to ignore him. 9 men and 9 women sat on both sides. The men wore battle armor and were all handsome and dashing. The women wore colorful dresses and were all charming. Of course, these people were also very powerful. At the very least, they could not be compared to the heavenly demons that Fang Qingshan had devoured. They were all demon lords that had materialized. These people were the 7-leaf demon lord and his 18 demon lords. At this moment, the 7-leaf demon lord had just arrived at the flesh swamp. His subordinates were welcoming him. This is bad. This is bad. Right at this moment, a heavenly demon stumbled in with a face full of fear. Impudent. Before he could speak, one of the demon lords under the 7-leaf demon lord scolded him with a stern expression. Demon lord, you're courting death by being so rude. Sigh, forget it. Just as the demon lords were about to bring this heavenly demon to justice, the 7-leaf demon lord waved his hand and asked the reckless heavenly demon, "What happened? What happened, my lord?" "Yes, my lord." The heavenly demon, who had just escaped death, quickly replied, "A powerful figure has come to the flesh swamp. He's killing our heavenly demon army without restraint. Moreover, it seems like he's heading in our direction. How dare he be so arrogant? He must be a disciple of one of those famous sections. Humph, if we don't show them what we're made of, they'll think this is their territory. The demon monarch ordered me to capture that person as a celebration. Let me go, let me go." As soon as the heavenly demon finished speaking, the demon lords on both sides became agitated. Many disciples of the Taoist sects and demon sects would kill heavenly demons wantonly when they came here, whether it was for training or refining treasures. They treated this place like their backyard, coming and going as they pleased. The 7-leaf demon sovereign ignored the demon king's clamor and continued asking, "Did you see clearly who it was? Is it the Tao sect or the demon sect? It should be a Tao sect. However, I'm not sure which sect it is exactly." The heavenly demon answered carefully, "This person is wrapped in a 5-colored mist, and above his head is a cauldron the size of a house. Wherever he goes, it's like a locust swarm. Whether it's flesh, mist, or the heavenly demon, everything is completely devoured by him. Oh, interesting. Usually, regardless of whether it was the disciples of the Taoist sects or the demon sects who entered the flesh quagmire, they would selectively attack and capture them. This was the first time the seven-leaf demon lord had heard of Fang Qingshan's method of being so desperate that he would not be picky. He immediately became interested. With a wave of his hand, a round light the size of a wash basin appeared in front of him. This was a divine power called the 1,000-mile circular light spell. It was like a camera that could display everything within a 500-mile radius. At this moment, a man was walking at a steady pace in the light. His brows were like distant mountains, and his eyes were like bright stars. He was indescribably elegant and carefree. There was a huge cauldron above his head that spun in the air. A large number of heavenly demons were sucked into the cauldron along with the blood primal chi in the flesh quagmire. The gorgeous clothes on his body also sucked in all kinds of miasma and poisonous mist like a whale. Fang Qingshan felt the mountain of medicinal pills in the 5 Hell King cauldron, the pool of flesh, and the 5-cloud peach blossom miasma on his body getting stronger. He was feeling happy when he suddenly felt someone spying on him. 2 beams of light shot out of his eyes toward the sky. Crack! At the same time, the 1,000-mile circular light spell cast by the 7-leaf demon lord shattered. However, at this moment, the 7-leaf demon lord was not angry. Instead, he was overjoyed. The 5 Hell King cauldron. It's the 5 Hell King cauldron. I can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it effortlessly. I, the 7-leaf demon lord, am indeed favored by providence. The 7-leaf demon lord laughed out loud. He had 2 goals for entering the Heaven Yellow Great World this time. One was to cooperate with demon god Jiuyang to rescue his father, demon god Jiuyin. After all, demon god Jiuyin had been ambushed by the demon god and Lady Tian Can and was now sealed and suppressed. Previously, Fang Qingshan and Fang Qingxue had destroyed the demon god's altar and killed the demon god's clone. As a result, demon god Jiuyin and the demon god had let bygones be bygones and joined forces. However, the 7-leaf demon lord was not aware of this. He was demon god Jiuyin's most powerful son. Naturally, he had to rescue him. The other goal was to find out the whereabouts of the 5 Hell King cauldron. This was the peerless treasure that the great heavenly demon king of the 5 hells used to command 8 million heavenly demons. Its power was peerless, and it was only 1 step away from a Tao artifact. If he obtained this treasure, he would not only become the most outstanding of demon god Jiuyin's sons, but he would also be ranked in the entire heavenly demon clan. Unfortunately, he did not know that while he was scheming for Fang Qingshan's 5 Hell King cauldron, Fang Qingshan had already set his sights on him. Let's go, demon kings of Yinyang. Follow me and take back the king cauldron. With this king cauldron, we can accommodate the heavenly demon army in it. It will be much easier to enter the Heaven Yellow main world. At the same time, you can use the king cauldron to temper your body and improve your demonic cultivation. The 7-leaf demon lord waved his hand in high spirits. He led the 18 demon kings under him and flew straight in the direction of Fang Qingshan. At that moment, in the eyes of the 7-leaf demon lord, Fang Qingshan was already a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. He saw that Fang Qingshan only had a gang chi cultivation. Although he had the 5 Hell King cauldron in his hand, he could not exert the power of the 5 Hell King cauldron at all. After all, this treasure had too many Dharma arrays. It did not have enough Dharma power to activate 54 large Dharma arrays. When Fang Han was in the flesh quagmire, he could only activate 2 large Dharma arrays at most. Even if Fang Qingshan was stronger than him, 3 was his limit. This was also the reason why Fang Qingshan had used the 5 Hell Peach Flower Miasma instead of the 5 Hell King Cauldron. Although the 7-leaf demon lord's attention was attracted by the 5 Hell King Cauldron, he also noticed the 5 Hell Peach Flower Miasma on Fang Qingshan's body, which was also a rare treasure. Blessings did not come in pairs, and misfortune did not come alone. He had not expected that he would have two happy things today. Not only would he get the 5 Hell King Cauldron, but he would also get an excellent treasure. When the 7-leaf demon lord used his magic power to spy on Fang Qingshan, Fang Qingshan sensed it. At this moment, he felt an overwhelming pressure coming towards him from afar. Not only did Fang Qingshan not run away, but he did not know if this person was a 7-leaf demon lord. However, he still went forward to meet it. Chapter 136. Human, how dare you steal the treasures of my heavenly demon tribe and kill my tribesmen? A strange look flashed in the 7-leaf demon lord's eyes when he saw that Fang Qingshan did not flee when he saw them. Instead, Fang Qingshan faced them head-on. However, he did not think that Fang Qingshan could do anything. Even with the 5 Hell King Cauldron, Fang Qingshan would not stand a chance against the 7-leaf demon lord. Therefore, the 7-leaf demon lord spoke as though he was bemoaning the state of the universe. I'll give you a chance now. Kneel and surrender. Hand over the cauldron and the cloud, mist you have. Otherwise, based on your sins, I'll make you beg for death. He. When Fang Qingshan heard this, he smiled faintly and did not retort. Who are you? Humph. This is the 7-leaf demon lord of my heavenly demon tribe. His father is demon god Nine, a powerhouse in the longevity secret realm. The 7-leaf demon lord did not bother to speak. The demon king beside him also spoke proudly. Oh, so you're a 7-leaf demon lord. When Fang Qingshan heard that the person was the 7-leaf demon lord he was looking for, he felt the same way as the 7-leaf demon lord when he saw the 5 Hell King Cauldron. He could wear out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find what he was looking for without even looking for it. How about it? You know my name. Kneel and surrender. Hand over your treasures. If my lord is in a good mood, he might let you go and take you in as a slave. When the demon king saw Fang Qingshan's sudden realization, he thought he was intimidated by the reputation of the 7-leaf demon lord and demon god Nine. Ha! Fang Qingshan smiled and shook his head. Even demon god Nine was suppressed by the demon god. A mere 7-leaf demon lord is nothing. How do you know? The 7-leaf demon lord, who did not think much of Fang Qingshan, narrowed his eyes when he heard this. You don't need to know how I know. Fang Qingshan shook his head and said calmly, Since you've given me a choice, I'll also give you a choice. Similarly, as long as you surrender to me and offer up all your treasures, I'll reluctantly accept you as my slave. Ha 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 ha. The 7-leaf demon lord was still wondering how Fang Qingshan knew that his father had been suppressed by the demon god. When he heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. Only after a long while did he stop, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. A mere earth energy realm cultivator dares to talk to me like that? Do you think I can't do anything to you just because you have the 5 Hell King Cauldron? He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Give it to me. It's such a waste to have it in your hands. As he spoke, the 7-leaf demon king stretched out his hand. In an instant, a mercury-like Milky Way appeared in the air. The Milky Way flowed in the air and turned into a demonic palm, grabbing at the 5 Hell King tripod above Fang Qingshan's head. Oomph. I'll use you to test out my mystique. When Fang Qingshan saw this, he did not retreat. Instead, he advanced. With a thought, he saw 5 streams of essence, qi, rising from his internal organs. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, white, green, black, red, and yellow. This was the transcendent 5 elements Zhenqi that Fang Qingshan cultivated. It constantly arranged, combined, and evolved above Fang Qingshan's head, turning into tiny runes. With another change, it formed thunderclouds that filled the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. 5 elements divine lightning, kill the demons. Fang Qingshan formed a seal with his hand and stood in the middle of the thunderclouds. He was like an ancient thunder emperor who controlled thunder techniques. With the point of his finger, white, green, black, red, and yellow lightning intertwined and condensed into a five-colored divine lightning. It shot toward the seven-leaf demon lord's large hand. Boom! With a loud sound, the lightning bolt that was as thick as a water bucket struck the demonic palm. The energy around the mercury-like demonic palm was immediately scattered. Cracks spread out like a spiderweb. Not only that, but the lightning was also continuously grinding away the demonic chi on the demonic palm. Lightning was the most masculine existence. It had an innate suppressive effect on all demons. Although the seven-leaf demon lord's cultivation base was far above Fang Qingshan's, he did not use his full strength. Moreover, after Fang Qingshan's transcendent five-element Qinqi was infused with various five-elements natural treasures, the quality of his five-element Qinqi was not far from the seven-leaf demon lord's magic power. Moreover, the five elements divine lightning was a natural suppressive effect on the seven-leaf demon lord. Hence, the final result was beyond the seven-leaf demon lord's expectations. Seeing that the demonic palm was about to shatter, the seven-leaf demon lord's face paled. With a thought, he quickly retracted his hand. Good, good, good. You do have some skill. No wonder you're so daring. The seven-leaf demon lord did not manage to take down Fang Qingshan in one go. In fact, he even suffered a small loss. The seven-leaf demon lord's embarrassment turned into anger. Slaughter the world. Die. The seven-leaf demon lord pulled his hands together, and the Jinqi in his body began to circulate. In an instant, it formed a zigzag line that filled the sky. The zigzag line sliced toward Fang Qingshan like a spatial rift. Great slicing art. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan immediately understood that this was one of the most powerful magics of the demon sect. It was also the first of the 3,000 great magics he had seen. This great magics also involved the law of space. If Fang Qingshan obtained it and cultivated it, he would most likely be able to find a way to cultivate the sky evasion sword technique after he succeeded. When he thought of this, Fang Qingshan was overjoyed. This seven-leaf demon lord was truly a treasure giver. Not only did he give him the 9 solar holy water, but he also gave him the 3,000 great magics. Heavenly lightning, annihilation, go. However, if he wanted to obtain the spoils of war, he would first have to suppress the seven-leaf demon lord. Seeing the black zigzag line slicing toward him, Fang Qingshan did not dare to be careless. He waved his hands, and hundreds and thousands of lightning bolts covered the sky and collided with the great slicing art. However, the divine lightning, which had previously been unstoppable, was now powerless against this great magics. When the lightning clashed with the black zigzag line, it was instantly sliced apart with a destructive force. Bang! 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 The five elements divine lightning was sliced apart by the great slicing art at lightning speed. Then, it continued on toward Fang Qingshan without losing any momentum. Brat, this is the supreme great magics of the heavenly demon clan. If you know what's good for you, quickly surrender. Otherwise, this day, next year, will be the anniversary of your death. Seeing that Fang Qingshan's great magics had been broken, the seven-leaf demon lord could not help but laugh loudly. It's too early for you to be happy. Fang Qingshan laughed coldly. He changed his hand seals, and the thunderclouds in the sky suddenly shrank toward the center. Then, like a black hole exploding, a five-colored ray of light shone down. Great five elements, annihilation needle. Puffed, puffed, puffed. As Fang Qingshan's most powerful great magics, the great five elements annihilation needle immediately turned the tables on the five elements divine lightning. Bang! 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 The two great magics collided and immediately caused a series of violent explosions. Stellar energy, flesh, magic power, mist, and many other things exploded and filled the surroundings. After a while, the black zigzag line dissipated into the air. The five elements divine lightning was no exception. In the end, no one could do anything to the other. Chapter 137. Great Magic. Seeing that Fang Qingshan's great five elements annihilation needle had actually destroyed his great incision art, the seven-leaf demon lord was shocked at first, but then he was overjoyed. At this moment, Fang Qingshan had become a child who had delivered treasures to him. To think that he, the seven-leaf demon lord, was the son of demon god Nine. He was a second-generation immortal, but compared to Fang Qingshan, the seven-leaf demon lord felt that he was nothing. Fang Qingshan was only in the righteous Qi realm, but he had the five Hell King's Cauldron and the five-cloud peach blossom miasma. Now, he had used the five elemental exterminating needles that were no weaker than the 3,000 great magic. Who knew if he had other good things? Fortunately, everything would be his from now on. The seven-leaf demon lord felt better when he thought of this. Kid, hand over all your treasures and magic, and I'll let you go. How about that? The seven-leaf demon lord's eyes suddenly shone with a brilliant silver light. It was a sign that his demonic skills had been raised to the extreme. Fang Qingshan's heart tightened when he saw this. He instinctively activated the five-cloud peach blossom miasma. Whoosh! Everything happened in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, the seven-leaf demon lord appeared behind him in his silver robe. He held a treasure saber and slashed at his neck. The body of the seven-leaf demon lord that had spoken earlier gradually dissipated. It was actually an illusion. The seven-leaf demon lord wanted to take all the magic treasures and magic from Fang Qingshan for himself. He took advantage of the conversation to distract Fang Qingshan so that he could launch a sneak attack. After all, he was not the only demon lord in the flesh swamp. Who knew if his movements would attract other experts? Moreover, this time his first attack was a thunderous one. He had used the treasure, Siet Sanqiong. The treasure saber was blood-red and as thin as a cicada's wings. The handle was a strange two-headed beast, and the blade was intertwined with patterns. In terms of quality, this item was comparable to the five Hell King's Cauldron. However, it was more ferocious in the immortal Dao and demon Dao. After all, although the five Hell King Cauldron was not bad, its main purpose was to refine pills and not to kill. Shuet Sangxiong, on the other hand, was different. He specialized in killing. Once he unsheathed his demonic blade, blood rained from the sky. This was the same principle as the Grand Supreme Elder's 8 trigrams alchemy furnace and the Nether River Yuan sword. Fortunately, although Fang Qingshan did not have much fighting experience, he knew that even a lion would use its full strength to catch a rabbit, so he did not relax for a moment. In addition, the defensive power of the five-cloud peach flower miasma was amazing. It was even better than the five Hell King Cauldron. Although Shuet Sanqiong was powerful, he was unable to break through Fang Qingshan's defense. Even so, Fang Qingshan broke out in a cold sweat. When he looked at the seven-leaf demon sovereign, the killing intent in his eyes seemed to solidify. All right, good. It is indeed a good treasure. Although the seven-leaf demon sovereign felt some regret that he did not manage to kill Fang Qingshan in one strike, he was more happy. After all, the more powerful the five-cloud peach flower miasma was, in the end, Fang Qingshan would still end up in his hands. Although the seven-leaf demon sovereign was wearing a treasure artifact robe, its defensive power paled in comparison to the five-cloud peach flower miasma. Kill! With that thought in mind, the seven-leaf demon sovereign did not stop for a moment. He waved Shuet Sangxiong in his hand, and a scarlet blood chi with a piercing killing intent slashed at Fang Qingshan. Fang Qingshan snorted coldly. Without saying a word, he raised the five Hell King Cauldron with both hands. Imitating how the Death Island Lord had attacked him earlier, he picked up the five Hell King Cauldron and smashed it at the seven-night demon lord. Oh no! The seven-leaf demon sovereign's eyelids twitched when he saw Fang Qingshan smash the five Hell King Cauldron at him like it was a mountain. There was a teleportation array in the five Hell King Cauldron. Therefore, this smash only flashed in the air and arrived in front of the seven-leaf demon sovereign. It was too late for him to dodge. Although the seven-leaf demon sovereign could use the Shuet Sangxiong to meet the attack head-on, he would still be slightly injured. his treasured saber might even fly out of his hand. Therefore, the seven-leaf demon sovereign did not choose to meet the attack head-on. Instead, he took out a talisman and crushed it into powder. Following that, a large amount of silver demonic chi suddenly surged out of the surrounding void. This silver demonic chi flowed like mercury. Once it flowed into the air, it automatically formed various talismans. In a thousandth of a blink of an eye, a huge demonic array condensed and formed, solidifying the void within a radius of 30 to 40 miles. At that moment, time seemed to slow down in the area enveloped by the array. In Fang Qingshan's eyes, it seemed like he was watching in slow motion. The unstoppable 5 Hell King Cauldron fell into the array and could not help but slow down. Great Time Talisman. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan suddenly remembered the life-saving talisman in the 7-Night Demon Sovereign's hands, the Great Time Talisman. This was refined by the longevity mystic realm, using its supreme dermic powers to comprehend the changing rules of the universe, thus reversing time and changing the void. It must have been a life-saving talisman left behind by his father, the demon god of 9 You deserve to die. Seeing that Fang Qingshan had wasted one of his life-saving trump cards, the 7 Knights Demon Lord looked at Fang Qingshan with a gaze that was filled with hatred. Even the bigwigs of the longevity mystic realm would find it difficult to refine such a treasure. Oof. In the face of the 7-Leaf Demon Sovereign's harsh words, Fang Qingshan could not help but smile. Although the attack of the 5 Hell King Cauldron did not achieve the desired effect, it was still useful to force the 7-Leaf Demon Sovereign to use his trump card. Moreover, the reason why he threw the 5 Hell King Cauldron was not really to kill him. Therefore, although he was a little surprised by the Great Time Talisman, Fang Qingshan did not stop because of the 5 Hell King Cauldron. He even ignored the 7-Night Demon Sovereign's dermic powers that wrapped around the cauldron and slowly seeped into it. With a shake of his hand, Fang Qingshan threw out the 5-Cloud Peach Blossom Miasma. It was like an inescapable net that expanded with the wind. In an instant, it covered a radius of hundreds of miles, including the 7-Leaf Demon Sovereign and the 18 Yang Demon Kings. Seeing Fang Qingshan's unexpected action, the 7-Leaf Demon Sovereign could not help but be secretly vigilant. It's your honor to die in its hands. Fang Qingshan looked at the 7-Leaf Demon Sovereign and said emotionally. The last one to die in its hands was a demon god. Tisk, demon god? Haha, I'm afraid you're crazy. The 7-Leaf Demon Sovereign's expression was originally solemn. When he heard Fang Qingshan's words, he could not help but have a strange expression. He did not deny Fang Qingshan's ability. However, he could not even deal with the 7-Leaf Demon Sovereign. How dare he say that he killed a demon god? After all, even his father died in the hands of a demon god. That was a giant in the longevity mystic realm. It looks like you're at your wit's end. Fang Qingshan ignored the 7-Leaf Demon Monarch. He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, one on the left and one on the right, one on the yang, one on the sword. Then, a surge of power instantly filled the space enveloped by the 5-Cloud Peach Flower Miasma. A Tao artifact. How is this possible? The 7-Leaf Demon Sovereign's expression changed when he felt the aura emanating from Fang Qingshan's body. Chapter 138. Pure Yang Fiend Flying Sword. Yes, Fang Qingshan had decided to use this treasure to settle the matter. The reason why he threw the 5 Hell King tripod over was to let the 7-Leaf Demon Lord use the firmament of blood to clash head-on with it. That way, he would be able to send the 7-Leaf Demon Lord flying, so that he would not have to use his treasured saber to fight against the pure Yang flying sword. Shuetsanxiong was not bad. It was one of the best supreme grade treasure weapons, and was just one step away from becoming a Tao weapon. However, compared to the pure Yang flying sword, there was a world of difference. Shuetsanxiong was undoubtedly the one who suffered the most damage in the clash. However, just like the 7-Leaf Demon Monarch, Fang Qingshan had long since regarded all the treasures on the 7-Leaf Demon Monarch as his own. Since they were his, he naturally had to avoid the possibility of them being damaged. Unfortunately, he had not expected the seven-leaf demon monarch to have a great time talisman on him. As a result, Fang Qingshan's goal was not achieved. However, it was still worth it to destroy one of his trump cards. As for the reason why he threw out the five-cloud peach blossom miasma, it was because Fang Qingshan wanted to use it to conceal the pure yang flying sword's aura. This was to prevent others from finding out and exposing his trump card. It might even attract the attention of others and cause problems. Of course, it was also to prevent a seven-leaf demon sovereign from escaping. After all, Fang Qingshan had taken out a high-grade Dao artifact. Moreover, it was a killing Dao artifact. Fang Qingshan ignored the seven-leaf demon lord's incredulity. His mind was completely immersed in the pure yang sword art. With a clanging sound, the sound was extremely ancient and vicissitudes of life. A treasured sword rose from behind Fang Qingshan. With just a flash, it revealed its true form. It shone with boundless radiance like the sun. Cloud and dragon inscriptions were carved on the body of the sword, containing the true meaning of pure yang. Go! Fang Qingshan formed a sword with his fingers and pointed. The pure yang flying sword suddenly turned, and thousands of sword lights slashed toward the seven-leaf demon sovereign. They were eerie and sparkling. Some were as big as a mountain, some were as small as an inch. Every one of them was sharp and contained the pure yang true meaning. Like the sun, there was no way to avoid it. How is this possible? How is this possible? Upon seeing this, the seven-leaf demon lord had long since lost his courage. This was not only because they were shocked by the power of the pure yang flying sword, but also because they did not believe that Fang Qingshan actually possessed such a Dao artifact. He had thought that Fang Qingshan had two peerless treasured weapons and a skill that was comparable to the 3,000 great magical powers. He had thought highly of him, but he had not expected that he would have a treasure that was comparable to a peerless Dao weapon. Could it be that this is the true pride of the heavens? The seven-leaf demon sovereign muttered to himself. No matter what the seven-leaf demon lord was thinking, he saw thousands of sword lights appear before him in the blink of an eye. With a sudden turn, they transformed into a great sun that fell. The eerie coldness caused the seven-leaf demon lord to freeze, but it also startled him. The seven-leaf demon monarch was, after all, the second generation of the celestial demon clan. Naturally, he was not a good-for-nothing. At a time like this, he would not just sit and wait for death. Looking at Fang Qingshan, a fierce look appeared in his eyes. Gritting his teeth, he summoned Shui Sangxiong and performed a series of hand seals with both hands. Even if I die, I won't let you have it easy. A crazed look flashed across the seven-leaf demon sovereign's face. You want to detonate a peerless treasure weapon? Fang Qingshan's eyebrows twitched when he saw that, and he snorted coldly. Did you ask for my permission? Putting aside the fact that he already had Shui Sangxiong in his bag, the explosion of a peerless treasure weapon alone would be so powerful that he would definitely be affected since he was so close to it. Moreover, he did not have the five-cloud peach blossom miasma and the five Hell King cauldron with him. If he was affected by the aftermath, it would be best if he was severely injured. Under such circumstances, how could Fang Qingshan let the seven-leaf demon sovereign have his way? Devour. Fang Qingshan's heart skipped a beat as he linked the five Hell King cauldron. Buzz. The five Hell King cauldron trembled and flashed, instantly appearing above Shui Sangxiong's head. With a flip, it turned upside down. Following that, the array in the cauldron was activated, suppressing Shui Sangxiong on the spot. Although the seven-leaf demon sovereign had just taken the five Hell King cauldron, his dermic powers were not enough to refine the five Hell King cauldron in such a short time. Fang Qingshan did not intend to completely suppress the treasure saber with the five Hell King cauldron. He merely wanted to buy some time for the pure yang flying sword. Damn it! The seven-leaf demon sovereign clearly did not expect this to happen. With a thought, Shui Sangxiong broke a few of the arrays of the five Hell King cauldron and flew out. However, it was too late for him to detonate the treasure saber. The pure yang flying sword flashed, and all the seven-leaf demon sovereign's movement stopped. Although he looked no different from before, his eyes no longer shone. Fang Qingshan had controlled the pure yang flying sword to directly obliterate the seven-leaf demon sovereign's divine soul. Since the last time, Fang Qingshan had not controlled his power and directly used the five elements exterminating God Needle to blast Despair Island Master into pieces. This time, Fang Qingshan deliberately controlled his attack. Demon Sovereign. The 18 Yang demon sovereigns who were standing on the periphery were originally laughing and not worried at all. They thought that Fang Qingshan was just a monkey in the hands of Buddha and could not do anything at all. They did not expect the situation to take a turn for the worse. The seven-leaf demon sovereign, who had the upper hand, was finally defeated by Fang Qingshan. However, at this time, these demon sovereigns did not care about avenging their boss. They turned around and fled. Even the seven-leaf demon sovereign was no match for Fang Qingshan, let alone them. Moreover, Fang Qingshan had a killing treasure at the level of a Dao artifact. This made them lose their courage. Unfortunately, Fang Qingshan had long been on guard against them. When they saw his pure yang flying sword, they were either on his side or dead. The five-cloud peach blossom miasma that he had previously scattered played a very good role. Although these demon sovereigns had the cultivation of the divine power secret realm, they were at most comparable to ordinary true disciples. They did not have any powerful treasures in their hands. So how could they break through the five-cloud peach blossom miasma's defense in short time? If anyone moves again, I'll give him a sword strike. Fang Qingshan's voice was heard nonchalantly. However, when it landed in the ears of the 18 Yin-Yang demon sovereigns, it was as if they had been immobilized. Immediately, all of them froze. When Fang Qingshan saw this, the corners of his mouth could not help but curl up. He held the pure yang sword in his hand and stroked it from time to time. Then he calmly turned around and said to the 18 Yin-Yang demon sovereigns, "Now, you have two choices. The first is to surrender to me. That way you can live. The second is to continue resisting and escape. That way, only death awaits you. What do you choose?" Fang Qingshan's gaze swept across the 18 of them indifferently. The 18 Yin-Yang demon sovereigns immediately stiffened. They looked at each other and finally knelt on the ground in unison. They bowed and said, "Greetings, Master." Sky fiends were different from others. They were born to obey the strong and were long used to the law of the jungle. Since the seven-leaf demon sovereign had been defeated by Fang Qingshan, they were faced with a choice of life and death. This choice was naturally not surprising. Chapter 139. Subduing the 18 Yin-Yang demon kings was equivalent to having 18 subordinates in the God Power secret realm. Although they were not outstanding in the God Power secret realm, they were still in the God Power secret realm. He was no longer alone. Then, Fang Qingshan began to enjoy the fruits of his victory. He waved his hand and kept the seven-leaf demon king into the five-hell king cauldron. He then reached out and grabbed Shuet Sanqiao. The pure yang flying sword was a Dao weapon of killing, after all. Moreover, it was a superior grade weapon that was comparable to a peerless grade weapon. It could not be used lightly unless one day his cultivation broke through to the point where he could change his fate or even achieve immortality. Now that he had Shuet Sanqiao, he had his usual equipment. He had seen the power of this treasure weapon of killing. If it was not for the five-cloud peach blossom miasma protecting him, he would have failed miserably. With this treasure, he would be able to use it until he broke through to the immortality secret realm. Moreover, like the five-hell king cauldron, this treasure had long reached the peak of a peerless grade weapon and was only one step away from becoming a Dao weapon. Shuet Sanqiao was indeed someone who was about to break through to become a Dao weapon. Seeing that Fang Qingshan was about to grab him, Shuet Sanqiao seemed to have sensed danger. He suddenly turned and dodged Fang Qingshan's grab. With a flash of saber radiance, he flew into the sky as if he was about to escape. Fang Qingshan could not help but be stunned at the sight of this. Even though he had not attained Tao, Shuet Sangxiong had already developed some intelligence and spirituality. He actually knew how to seek benefits and avoid risks. This was a step further than the 5 Hell King Cauldron. With some good materials and an expert to reforge it, it was almost certain that it would break through to become a Tao weapon. After all, peerless grade weapons like Shuet Sangxiong, the 5 Hell King Cauldron, and the 5 Cloud Peach Blossom Miasma already had the foundation of a Tao weapon. Now that Shuet Sangxiong had developed intelligence, breaking through to become a Tao weapon was just around the corner. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan was not shocked but delighted. Seeing that Shuet Sangxiong was about to fly away, Fang Qingshan was in no hurry. With a thought, the 5 Cloud Peach Blossom Miasma suddenly shone brightly. In an instant, a gorgeous, colorful mist shot out and tied Shuet Sangxiong up like a rope. Shuet Sangxiong was the devil's blade. How could he just sit and wait for death? His ferocious nature was immediately unleashed. His blade radiance was like a cluster, and the strong smell of blood filled the air. He clashed left and right, like the Monkey King wreaking havoc in heaven. For a moment, even the 5 Cloud Peach Flower Miasma could not suppress it. This was not to say that the 5 Cloud Peach Flower Miasma was inferior. However, compared to Shuet Sangxiong, the 5 Cloud Peach Blossom Miasma lacked spirituality and relied entirely on Fang Qingshan to activate it. Of course, this was not the main reason. The main reason was that he had not digested the miasma from the flesh swamp, so he could only exert 50 to 60% of his strength. The more impressive Xie Sanqiong's performance was, the happier Fang Qingshan was. However, the most important thing now was to subdue it. Fang Qingshan flicked his finger on the pure yang sword. Buzz! A crisp, ancient, majestic, and domineering sword chime was suddenly heard. Although it did not have any killing power, Xie Sangxiong, who was about to overturn the sky, stopped instantly like a mouse that had encountered cat. Since you've already developed intelligence, it's easy, Fang Qingshan said calmly. Just like them, you only have 2 choices. Either you surrender or I'll wipe out your intelligence, Fang Qingshan said calmly. At this point, Fang Qingshan's eyes were filled with killing intent. The pure yang flying sword buzzed nonstop, as though it was about to break through the air and slash at Xie Sangxiong. Xie Sangxiong trembled when he heard that. Although he could not completely understand Fang Qingshan's words, he had just developed intelligence after all. However, he could still instinctively sense good fortune and misfortune. Against the 5 Cloud Peach Flower Miasma and the 5 Hell King Tripod, Xie Sangxiong dared to fight. However, against the pure yang flying sword, he did not dare to resist at all. In particular, the pure yang flying sword was a treasure that specialized in killing, just like him. He knew how shocking the killing power of such an existence was. Therefore, like the 18 yin-yang demon gods, Xie Sangxiong surrendered in the face of survival. Ha, great! Seeing that Xie Sangxiong had finally surrendered, Fang Qingshan grabbed it in his hand and played with it fondly. Congratulations, master! Congratulations, master! The 18 yin-yang demon gods were also very perceptive and congratulated him. Then, they fought to be the first to speak. Apart from the treasures on him, the 7-leaf demon king has many other treasures in the castle. We'll bring master to collect them now. Great! Fang Qingshan's eyes lit up when he heard that. He put Xie Sangxiong away and brought everyone to the Shadow Castle. A horse would not get fat without grass at night, and a man would not get rich without a windfall. Back then, the abandoned disciple of the Heaven Extermination Demon Sect, Suicide Island Master, had made a fortune for Fang Qingshan. As the son of the demon god, Fang Qingshan had high hopes for the 7-leaf demon king's treasures. With the 18 yin-yang demon kings leading the way, Fang Qingshan naturally easily swept through the various herbs in the castle, as well as some precious ores in the warehouse. In addition, Fang Qingshan was informed by these demon kings that he obtained a giant egg the size of a millstone from under the throne in the hall. The giant egg was white and there seemed to be densely packed runes drawn on it, sealing the giant egg's life force. Kunping egg. Upon seeing this, Fang Qingshan recalled that the seven-leaf demon king had such a treasure. Rumor had it that there was a dragon egg in the Tai sect that was about to hatch into a primordial sky dragon. There was also a divine beast phoenix egg in exquisite paradise. There was even a primordial phoenix that was comparable to the longevity mystic land. The sky dragon, phoenix, and Kunpeng were all extremely powerful primordial divine beasts. Once they grew up, they would become giants. Unfortunately, it was extremely difficult to hatch such primordial divine beasts. Even if they hatched, they would not grow up without tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years. Even if they ate, they would have to eat until an immortal Dao sect went bankrupt. The Kunping egg in the seven-leaf demon king's hand was found by his father, demon god Jiuyin, in a distant star in the starry sky. There were 3 of them, and he had obtained one and given it to the seven-leaf demon king. Unfortunately, it had become someone else's wedding dress, and Fang Qingshan had taken advantage of it. All right, go outside and subdue the heavenly demons. Put them in the 5 hell king cauldron and use it to devour the blood chi in the flesh swamp. Fang Qingshan was like a locust passing through the castle. He looted everything of value in the castle, and then threw the 5 hell king cauldron to the 18 yin yang demon kings, asking them to subdue the heavenly demons. Many of these heavenly demons were originally their subordinates, and they were excellent for alchemy or activating formations. Following the principle of not leaving empty-handed, Fang Qingshan naturally would not let go of these resources. Yes, master. Upon hearing this, the 18 yin-yang demon kings respectfully took the 5 hell king cauldron, turned around, and left the castle to subdue the heavenly demons. Fang Qingshan shook his hand and scattered the 5-cloud peach flower miasma, and then took out an alms bowl from the 7-leaf demon king's storage space. Chapter 140. 9 Solar Holy Water. This is the 9 solar holy water. Fang Qingshan's eyes lit up as he held an alms bowl that was neither made of metal, jade, nor stone. The alms bowl was filled with flowing liquids. The liquids had 9 different colors, and they burned like flames. They were like a fountain, and the sound of water splashing could be heard, making it hard to tell whether they were water or fire. With this item, the piece of the world tree would be able to grow back into a small sapling. Although it would take a lot of time and resources to grow back to the stage where it could support the heavens and the earth, this was a top-notch spirit root. It was an ultimate treasure that could accompany Fang Qingshan for the rest of his life. Even if he were to break through the secret realm of longevity, become an immortal, or even a grand heavenly immortal, where he would be able to move freely through time and space, this thing would still be an ultimate treasure. Even if this item was placed in the desolation chamber, it would still be comparable to a top-grade spiritual root. Fang Qingshan believed that once this item matured, it would become the most valuable item in his possession, apart from the All-Heavens chessboard. Fang Qingshan took out the piece of the world tree. Ever since he obtained it, Fang Qingshan had been using his own true qi to constantly purify it. Even though he did not refine it, he managed to taint the piece with a bit of his aura. At this moment, Fang Qingshan performed a hand seal, causing the piece of the world tree to hover in front of him. He then used his finger as a sword and flicked it. The 9 solar holy water in the alms bowl shot out like a stream of spring water and landed on the piece of the world tree. The 9 solar holy water was indeed a treasure of the heavens and earth, containing boundless vitality. Just one drop of it on the fragment of the world tree had an immediate effect. Chi, chi, chi. When the 9 solar holy water landed on the piece of wood, it was like a piece of metal being soaked in cold water, producing a sizzling sound. Streams of 9 solar holy water were absorbed by the piece of the world tree. In an instant, Fang Qingshan could feel a hint of vitality being nurtured, just like the return of spring after the awakening of hibernation, the revival of all living things and the sprouting of grass. Spring came back to life. The 9 solar holy water continued to drip down. This weak life force gradually strengthened. As time passed, Fang Qingshan even saw a tiny green bud slightly bulging on the palm-sized fragment. This seemed to be a bud that was about to break out of its shell. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan got even more excited. Originally, he had been controlling the amount of 9 solar holy water, but now he let go of it. He directly tossed the world tree's fragment into the alms bowl and soaked it in the 9 solar holy water. Boom! In an instant, as if a sprout was pulled to help it grow, the fragment of the world tree immediately broke out of its shell, sprouted, and took root. A powerful wave of wood-attributed spiritual energy suddenly burst out, rolling like a tide. Fang Qingshan's sequent Heaven 5 elements true qi could be considered as a very powerful one of the 5 elemental true qi attributes. But compared to this would attribute true qi, his would attribute true qi simply paled in comparison. Although it had just germinated, but in terms of quality, it was many times higher than his own true qi. This bowl of 9 solar holy water was used as a nutrient solution. On the other hand, the world tree's fragment changed with every breath. In an instant, the world tree's fragment seemed to have turned into a black hole, continuously devouring the life force. At the same time, it released a green, but chaotic, wood-attributed energy. The world tree's fragment grew like bamboo shoots after the rain. It sprouted, and even grew leaves. Not long after, it turned into a small sapling. Although it looked weak, one could vaguely see that it had an indomitable spirit. The sapling's roots were firmly rooted in the air, as if it was absorbing nutrients from the endless void. The leaves were oval in shape, and the veins on them were like talismans. The veins on each leaf were different, as if they were talismans from the heavens. It's indeed a work of art that surpasses the heavens. Looking at the sapling in front of him, Fang Qingshan exclaimed. The reason why it was said to be a marvelous work of nature was because the trunk, leaves, and roots of the world tree had formed a natural restrictive spell formation. Furthermore, it was constantly changing, constantly increasing, and constantly strengthening. The reason why it was called a work of art was because its roots had pierced into the endless void, absorbing the millions of spiritual qi hidden in the unknown and mysterious void. It was worthy of being an indomitable world tree that connected immortals and mortals, connecting the endless worlds of eternal life and the void. It was like a person's backbone and bloodline, linking up and going back and forth. Alas, what a pity. I wonder how majestic this thing was in the past. Feeling the majestic will and aura of the world tree, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but be fascinated by the world tree when it was at its peak. However, even such a powerful existence had suffered in the end. Fang Qingshan couldn't help but feel like he was treading on thin ice. The path of cultivation was filled with dangers. If he wasn't careful, he would be beyond redemption. Therefore, he had to tread on thin ice and do things bravely. As soon as this thought crossed his mind, Fang Qingshan's body trembled. His entire body seemed to have become much more transparent. It turned out that Fang Qingshan's state of mind had been improved, and so had his cultivation. As a result, the bottleneck for him to break through in the future would naturally be weakened. I didn't expect there to be such a pleasant surprise. Fang Qingshan couldn't help but laugh. At the same time, he also thought that if the world tree hadn't suffered a disaster, even the hidden realm of longevity, immortals, and golden immortals will be nothing more than ants to it. How could it possibly possess such a treasure? Although it would probably take more time for the world tree to fully grow than the Kuan Ping egg, Fang Qingshan didn't care at all. What he had to consider now was that once the world tree grew, he might not be able to control it in the future. This was naturally not something that Fang Qingshan wanted to see. And if he wanted the world tree to be completely under his control, the only way was to completely refine the world tree. At this moment, the world tree had just come back to life and was at its weakest. Fang Qingshan didn't dare to delay. He channeled the natural qi of the 5 elements and channeled all his earth qi into the sapling of the world tree. Then, Fang Qingshan turned his divine sense into a saber and slashed at his primordial spirit from afar. With a slash, it was split into two. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Fang Qingshan couldn't care less now. Enduring the pain, Fang Qingshan channeled a smaller portion of his primordial spirit into the world tree. Buzz! In an instant, the entire sapling of the world tree shook. Its branches and leaves fluttered like a human hand. At the center of the trunk, a vague human face appeared. Upon closer inspection, who else could it be other than Fang Qingshan? He had used the second primordial spirit from the He Sha Wondrous Book and a natal sword cultivation method from the pure Yang sword art to turn the world tree into something that he could use for dual cultivation. Although this would damage his primordial spirit for a while, it was worth it in the long run. Chapter 141. Absorb the spirit of heaven and earth. Absorb the essence of the sun and the moon. Eat and sleep in the open air. In the dark, Fang Qingshan seems to have become the world tree. The world tree is me, and I am the world tree. There is no distinction between each other, only primary and secondary. At this moment, the roots of the world tree became his countless tentacles. Through them, Fang Qingshan went to the void, to other big worlds, and even to a higher space, the immortal world. A wisp of the immortal world spirit was absorbed by himself to nourish the sapling, and the rest was used to supplement his body and nourish his spiritual magic power. The god who eats qi will not die. With this clone of the world tree, Fang Qingshan doesn't need to eat or take medicinal pills in the future, and his cultivation can be improved by leaps and bounds. Even if he falls into a dangerous place, he can guarantee that he will live well. After all, the world tree is the existence of the immortal world, the passage connecting the immortal world and the mortal world. What kind of dangerous place can stop him? With a move of his mind, the sapling of the world tree shrank and turned into a stream of light and entered the central Niwen palace between his eyebrows. When he closed his eyes and looked inside, he would find that the sapling lived quietly above the heaven chessboard in his Niwen palace. Countless roots were still plunged into the void, and when he breathed a little, the primordial qi rolled in. What makes Fang Qingshan feel strange is that these roots are not only rooted in the heavens of a mortal world, but also in the heavenly dragon that has been opened, and even in the three worlds of Shushan and the three kingdoms. If the world tree doesn't know that it can absorb the power of the immortal world and the power of the various worlds in the heaven chessboard, I'm afraid that the growth time will be greatly shortened, and it may be broken and rebuilt. In addition, with the heaven chessboard behind it, the world tree will be stronger than the original moment. Fang Qingshan muttered to himself, "However, when the world tree grows up, I am afraid that I will not be able to see it even when I become an immortal. Now that the world tree has been reborn, this matter has come to an end. For a long time, the only role of the world tree is to devour the spirit of the world and even the immortal world for its own use. The main task at the moment is to break through. Yes, a breakthrough in cultivation. Although Fang Qingshan did not spend a lot of time breaking through from the secret realm to the earth energy realm, and even achieve the goal that some people could not achieve in their lifetime, in his opinion, it was still too slow. Fang Qingxue had already gone into seclusion in the small immortal world of the emergent sect. When she came out, she would probably not be far from the Golden Core realm. As for Fang Han, it was even more so. When he left the emergent sect, Fang Han had already broken through to the divine secret realm. After such a long time, Fang Han's cultivation had probably skyrocketed and was almost catching up with him. Although Fang Qingshan had intercepted his opportunities, such as the 5 Hell King Cauldron, the World Tree, and the Kuan Ping Egg, Fang Qingshan believed that Fang Han, as the son of an era and the protagonist of the world, would definitely have other opportunities. His progress would definitely not be much slower than his. The next step after the stellar energy realm was Yin Yang. As for the understanding of Yin and Yang, Fang Qingshan already had some understanding even before he obtained the celestial chessboard, even though it was just superficial knowledge. Later on, he cultivated the heavenly mountain, six yang palm, and the heaven and earth great shift, further evolving yin and yang and refining taiji. In Shushan, he obtained the Sand Strange book and refined the five elements genuine qi. What's more, Fang Qingshan had obtained the pure yang flying sword. It could be said that he had already advanced by leaps and bounds in terms of pure yang. Fang Qingshan had long understood the changes of yin and yang. It's time to break through. Fang Qingshan sat cross-legged and mobilized the five elements genuine qi. The profound meaning of yin and yang lingered in his mind. Yin and yang, heaven and earth, sun and moon, day and night, cold and heat, man and woman, up and down, water and fire, interacted, nurtured, opposed, and had the same root. The unpredictable yin and yang was called God. Music came from yang, and etiquette came from yin. When yin and yang were in harmony, all things would be born. Yin was called night, and yang was called day. In summer, yang was long and yin was short. In winter, yang was short and yin was long. The distribution of yin and yang, thunder and lightning, day and night were the same. When the two energies interacted, all things would be born. When heaven and earth were in harmony, all things would be born. Yin and yang would then change. As soon as this thought came out, it was like a wake-up call. Fang Qingshan only felt that he seemed to have an epiphany in an instant. The difference between yin and yang, which was originally in the fog, was instantly grasped. Without the need for Fang Qingshan to circulate it, the five elements genuine qi in his body suddenly changed and turned into two gang qis, one black and one white. One showed the aura of the pure yang flying sword, firm and yang, while the other showed a willow branch in the spring breeze, graceful and feminine. The two intertwined. There was me and you in me. There was no distinction between them, but there was a clear distinction. The five elements, yin and yang, alternated. At this moment, even if the world tree's absorption of vitality was rolling like a tide, it could not keep up with Fang Qingshan's absorption power. Fortunately, he still had the pure yang golden pill. After swallowing one, he suddenly felt as if he was in the small, immortal world of the emergent sect. The strength of his entire body rose steadily, and the yin and yang gang qis transformed from the five elements genuine qi changed with each breath. In an instant, it turned into the model of a man and a woman. The man was like a king, ruling over the world, and the woman was like the queen, the mother of the world. Fang Qingshan opened his eyes, and the sun and moon were faintly visible in his eyes. With a thought, the yin and yang gang qis changed into all things in the sky, including the sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, plants, birds, beasts, insects, fish, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. It was lifelike, without the slightest illusion, as if it was real. However, these were all illusions. Fang Qingshan's realm had not yet reached the point of creating things out of nothing. This was just the yin and yang transformation technique. After breaking through the yin and yang realm, Fang Qingshan did not come out but continued to cultivate. He was ready to break through to the celestial being realm in one fell swoop. The so-called celestial being realm was just the unity of heaven and man, insight into heaven and earth, understanding the mystery of vitality, and studying the mystery of array formations. Because Fang Qingshan had previously comprehended the heart of treading on thin ice, his state of mind was able to break through, and his cultivation increased greatly. Coupled with the mysteries of the Tree of World, he had a clear understanding of the mysteries of vital qi, and the various formations in the Sand Fusion Wondrous Book and the Pure Yang Sword technique had allowed him to understand the mysteries of formations and restrictions in advance. Therefore, breaking through to the celestial being realm was like breaking through to the yin-yang realm before, and there was no bottleneck for Fang Qingshan. Fang Qingshan's mind was clear, and without a thought, his thoughts extended along the roots of the Tree of World into the infinite void. In an instant, he saw countless vitality particles in the void constantly changing, and this change was naturally the mystery of vitality. At the same time, the various arrays in the wonderful Book of Hixia and the pure Yang sword art were of course the most common: one yuan, 2 polarities, 3 talents for symbols, 5 elements, 6 directions, 7 stars, 8 trigrams, 9 palaces, and 10 extremes, all played out in his mind. "Break, break, break!" Fang Qingshan shouted. But then he saw the 5 elements of yin and yang in his body suddenly changed, condensing into array formations and restrictions, and integrated into his body. Chapter 142. Just as Fang Qingshan broke through 2 realms in one go, the all-heaven chessboard in his Niwen palace suddenly shook. Dense purple gas filled the air, and the sound of a large conch sounded in the void. One of the chess pieces shone brightly, resonating with the worlds of immortality, Celestial Dragon, Mount Shu, and the 3 kingdoms. A new world had been opened. Fang Qingshan was not surprised at all. After all, his cultivation had broken through 2 realms this time and reached the celestial being realm. This was a watershed in the supernatural secret realm. From now on, he could set up arrays and refine spiritual tools. He could even be promoted to an elder in the emergent sect. Not only him, Fang Qingshua's cultivation had also improved by leaps and bounds after entering the small immortal world of the emergent sect. After Fang Han broke through the mystery realm, he could also share a certain amount of luck with him. Moreover, he had killed the island master of Suicide Island, a 7-leaf demon king, killing people and stealing luck, especially a 7-leaf demon king, who was the 2nd generation of an immortal with a strong luck. He had subdued the 18 yin-yang demon kings, and then let them subdue millions of celestial demons. From a loner, they directly became a force, and naturally, they would also gather luck. Of course, the most important thing was that Fang Qingshan had obtained a fragment of the world tree and successfully nurtured it again. Although it was only a small sapling now, there was no doubt that he had obtained the legacy of the world tree. Thinking about how powerful the world tree was when it was at its peak, even a mortal could directly climb to the celestial realm through it. Its thick luck was favored by heaven and earth, and it was a totem in the hearts of all people. Even if Fang Qingshan had obtained a negligible trace, it should not be underestimated. The world opened by so much luck was definitely not a low-level plane like the Celestial Dragon. Fang Qingshan could not wait to see which world was open this time. With a thought, Fang Qingshan descended from the world tree and went straight to the newly opened chess piece. He reached out, and a name appeared in his mind. Great Dominator. I didn't expect it to be this world. Although Fang Qingshan knew that the world that had been opened this time wouldn't be a low-level plane, he hadn't expected that he'd still underestimated the world tree's legacy of karmic luck. He'd actually opened the sovereign's world. Shaking his head, Fang Qingshan thought about how he had already broken through to the celestial realm. 2 more worlds had opened up in the myriad celestial chessboard, and he had yet to go there. The question now was whether he should choose a world to transmigrate to or continue waiting here. After all, this flesh and blood quagmire was a focal point. The entrance to the Tai Yuan Immortal Mansion was not far from here. Demon Commander Ying Tianqing would come. The people of the Greater One sect would come. Fang Han would come. And even Hua Tiandu, the sect leader of the emergent sect, the 9 Yin and 9 Yang Heavenly Silkworm, and other longevity realm experts would show up. The reason why Fang Qingshan wanted to wait here was that he didn't want to miss such a lively scene, and he also wanted to meet Hua Tiandu. After all, Fang Han was someone he thought highly of, and Fang Han's luck was connected to his. Hua Tiandu had suppressed Fang Han, which was not giving him face. In the past, he could forget about it. After all, face was only in power. Now that his cultivation had broken through to the celestial realm, even if he still couldn't defeat Hua Tiandu, he could at least contend with him. That's right. Fang Qingshan suddenly remembered that he still had one thing in his hand that he hadn't digested, and that was the 7-leaf Demon King's talisman. The seven-leaf Demon King was an expert at the sixth level of the divine power secret realm. All his divine power and dharma power had been condensed into a talisman, and he was one step away from condensing a gold core and becoming a small giant. Now, his divine soul had been erased by his pure yang flying sword, but the talisman was still there. Now that he had broken through to the celestial realm, he could absorb the divine power in the talisman and transform it into his own divine power. Not only could he save a lot of time practicing divine power, but he could also greatly increase his combat power. Let's do that. Fang Qingshan made up his mind. He would first refine the seven-leaf Demon King's talisman, and then see if he had time. If he still had enough time, he would travel through the three kingdoms to have a look. Thinking of this, Fang Qingshan placed his hand on the seven-leaf Demon King's head, and then he pulled out a somewhat illusory talisman that was full of decadence from the top of his head. The reason for this was that the seven-leaf Demon King was already dead, and the realm of the talisman was not comparable to the gold core realm. Gold was immortal, and once its owner died, it could not be used and preserved in time. Then, the talisman would slowly dissipate and turn back into the essence of heaven and earth. Fang Qingshan used his fingers as a sword, and with a gentle point, the seven-leaf Demon King's talisman disintegrated with a loud bang, turning into a divine power formation. Fang Qingshan's standards were very high, and he did not care about ordinary divine powers at all. This was especially so for the various five elements divine powers in the seven-leaf Demon King's talisman. Compared to Fang Qingshan's five elements divine needle of destruction, five elements divine thunder, five elements escape art, and other divine powers, they could not be compared at all. Therefore, he directly used his divine powers, extracted the five elements essence qi from the talisman, and integrated it into his own five elements divine powers. As for the other divine powers, Fang Qingshan only kept them, such as the Great Slicer Technique and the Soul Suppression Song. Of course, other than the five elements divine powers, Fang Qingshan did not directly absorb the seven-leaf Demon King's divine powers for his own use. Instead, he first absorbed them with the Tree of World, then spat them out and refined them himself. The reason it was so troublesome was that even though the seven-leaf Demon King was dead, these divine powers were the result of decades and centuries of hard work. They were contaminated with his aura. If he did not erase these auras, it would not be a problem for a while. However, as time passed and he absorbed too many divine powers, it would affect his own foundation. This was somewhat similar to the Dark North divine skill. However, Fang Qingshan absorbed divine powers, while the Dark North divine skill absorbed inner energy. If he could not convert other people's inner energy into his own, he would eventually suffer the drawbacks of the absorbing star's great skill. It was the same for divine powers. If he could not purify the aura of others, he would eventually lose more than he gained. Fang Han had the yellow spring water of forgetfulness, and Fang Qingshan could also use the Tree of World. Half a day later, in Fang Qingshan's mind, divine powers were like bright stars. With the five elements divine needle of destruction as the core, they began to spin like a galaxy. Boom! Around Fang Qingshan's body, a boundless hurricane surrounded him, and his spiritual power rose again. After absorbing the divine powers of the seven-leaf Demon King, Fang Qingshan not only saved himself the time of painstakingly cultivating divine powers, but his current combat power was comparable to that of a consolidation realm master, even without magical treasures. After all, not everyone had the opportunity he had. Most of the divine powers he cultivated were top-notch, such as the five elements divine needle of destruction, the five elements thunder, the Great Slicing Technique, and so on. While others were still busy with divine powers like the Great Freedom Dark Gold Sword Chi, he already had a more advanced divine powers and had cultivated them to a certain level. Looks like I could go to the three kingdoms. Fang Qingshan calculated the time and summoned the Yin-Yang Demon King back. He put away the five Hell King's cauldron and disappeared in an instant. Chapter 143. The Great Han Dynasty, the grassland beyond the Great Wall. A meteor streaked across the sky and fell. Boom! A loud sound rang out, and a person in a slightly disheveled state appeared. Upon closer inspection, it was Fong Qingshan. Fortunately, I didn't faint this time. Fong Qingshan smiled. Looking around, he saw the sky was blue, the wilderness was vast, and the wind blew the grass. I don't know what's the difference between these three kingdoms and the three kingdoms recorded in history. Fong Qingshan thought to himself, identified the direction, and walked straight toward the Great Han Dynasty. The top priority was to figure out what stage the three kingdoms was at now. Coming to the three kingdoms, Fong Qingshan only had one purpose, and that was to build this place into a place of providence like the Heavenly Dragon. He took a step forward and instantly traveled 10 miles. He had used the 5 elements escape technique. Ordinary people would think that they were seeing things when they saw it. Something's wrong. After a while, Fong Qingshan raised his eyebrows slightly. It was not that there was any accident, but with his speed, he had not reached the border of the Great Han Dynasty after such a long journey. Moreover, he released his divine sense, and within a radius of hundreds of miles, there was still a vast grassland, as if there was no end to the grassland. Interesting, is this really not the three kingdoms recorded in history? This aroused Fong Qingshan's interest. After all, if it was the three kingdoms recorded in history, with his current cultivation, he could suppress it with a flip of his hand. There was no challenge at all, which meant that he would gain nothing except providence. It seems that Zhang Jiao's heavenly book may be true. Thinking of this, Fong Qingshan could not help but feel excited. Although he was now also an expert in the secret realm of divine powers, and had cultivated top magical powers such as the Great 5 Elements Exterminating Needle and the Great Cutting Technique, he still coveted those magical powers in China's traditional mythology, such as transforming beings into soldiers, summoning wind and summoning rain, and riding on clouds and mist. Along the way, there was nothing but the sky and the grass, not even a shadow of a person. Fong Qingshan rushed for half a day and finally heard a fight in the distance. He was delighted and hurriedly followed the sound. The two teams were fighting each other. One of the teams had over 10,000 people. Although it was still not enough compared to the vast grassland, it was still a sea of people. The other team only had about 2,000 to 3,000 people. Unlike the enemy's troops, it looked like a well-organized team. They wore the same uniform and rode on white horses. They looked majestic. What was surprising was that the confrontation between the two teams was one-sided, and it was White Horse who was suppressing the opponent who was several times their size. At the center of the battle, a storm was brewing. On one side, there was a white horse with not a single strand of hair on its body, noble and powerful. On the other side, there was a hungry wolf, savage and in a sorry state. With Fong Qingshan's cultivation, he could sense that the white horse and the hungry wolf actually had the cultivation of the divine ability secret realm. Furthermore, they had not just broken through the magic power realm. The white horse had the cultivation of the aura realm, while the hungry wolf had the cultivation of the true chi realm. Interesting. Seeing this, Fong Qingshan's eyes lit up. The two teams were linked together in battle formations, and the eruption of power was a world-shaking change. White Horse, beyond the Great Wall. Could this be Youzhou's Gongsun Zan's White Horse Righteous Army? Just as Fong Qingshan was thinking, although the hungry wolf was savage and the Xianbei people were powerful, there was still no match for the White Horse's powerful attacks. Soon, there was a mournful cry as the hungry wolf was kicked to death by the White Horse. The hungry wolf was formed from the essence, energy, and spirit of the Xianbei soldiers. When the hungry wolf was killed, the formation collapsed, and under the backlash, thousands of soldiers died on the spot. The rest naturally scattered like monkeys when the tree falls, wishing they could grow a pair of wings and quickly get away from this demon. As luck would have it, the Xianbei soldiers were fleeing in the direction of Fong Qingshan, courting death. Fong Qingshan originally didn't want to make a move, but these Xianbei soldiers were suddenly charging at him. If his cultivation was not enough, there would only be one outcome: being crushed into dregs. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I'll kill them all. This was an immortality or Shoe Mountain. Although he could tell from the White Horse and Hungry Wolf that the three kingdoms were not simple, Fang Qingshan was very confident. With his cultivation, even if he wasn't at the peak, there were very few people who could take his life. Since this was the case, Fang Qingshan naturally wouldn't show mercy to the Xianbei soldiers who didn't care about him and wanted to kill him. Moreover, when Fang Qingshan thought of the era of the 5 barbarians and the brutality of these foreign tribes, the killing intent in his heart became even stronger. 5 elements godly lightning, kill the heretics. With a thought, Fang Qingshan summoned the 5 elements godly lightning. In an instant, a gust of wind blew, sending sand and pebbles flying. The sky was originally clear, and the sky was high, and the clouds were wide. In an instant, dark clouds covered the city. The wind was strong, and the clouds were thick. In an instant, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Lightning streaked across the sky, and the rolling thunder was deafening. However, not a single drop of rain fell. Instead, it was so oppressive that it made it difficult for people to breathe. Kill. Expressionless, Fang Qingshan pointed at the defeated Xianbei soldiers who were charging at him without any hesitation. Whoosh! Tens of thousands of lightning bolts swarmed down, covering an area of 100 li. There was no Chanism, no begging for mercy. At this moment, all other sounds disappeared, leaving only the sound of thunder. Hiss! The White Horse Army, who had defeated the Xianbei army and wanted to follow up on their victory, had never seen such a scene before. They didn't even need to rein in their horses, and the White Horse Army, which could be considered superior war horses, all neighed in fear. Not only did they immediately stop, but if it weren't for the soldiers stopping them, they would have turned around and fled. Hiss! Seeing this scene, the White Horse Army couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Although the current Han dynasty didn't lack experts, they had never heard of an existence like Fang Qingshan, who could summon lightning with a wave of his hand and kill thousands of elite soldiers. Of course, in addition to the people's horizons, it was also because the current Han dynasty hadn't fallen into chaos, so the divine ability experts didn't dare to casually make a move. Suddenly, the lightning dissipated, and everything returned to normal. Only the area between Fang Qingshan and the White Horse Army was a mess. Thousands of Xianbei soldiers had actually disappeared from the face of the earth. Seeing this, the people couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. They looked at the calm Fang Qingshan with vigilance. Seeing Fang Qingshan calmly walk over, the people subconsciously tightened their grip on their weapons, ready to set up a formation to resist. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but smile and cupped his hands. This one is Fang Qingshan. Greetings to the army lords. I don't dare to be called an expert. This one is Zhou Dan, a lieutenant of the White Horse Army under General Gongsun of Yuzhou. Seeing that Fang Qingshan didn't seem to be hostile and was also a Han, the White Horse Army couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Zhou Dan stepped forward and returned the greeting. Chapter 144. It really is them. Fang Qingshan could not help but nod when he heard Zhou Dan's name. On the grasslands, there was a group of elite cavalrymen made up entirely of white horses. Other than Gongsun Zan's white horse followers, Fang Qingshan could not think of any other group. As for Zhou Dan, she was Gongsun Zan's subordinate and was once appointed as the governor of Yuyang. Later on, she fought against Wuhuan's General Yanrou and was killed. Thank you for your help, young master. If not for young master, I'm afraid that these Xianbei scoundrels would have escaped again and become a disaster in the future. Zhou Dan expressed her gratitude. It was just a coincidence. Fang Qingshan waved his hand and asked, I've traveled around and stayed in the grasslands for a long time. I don't know what year it is in the Great Han Dynasty and what major events have happened. In response to young master's question, it is currently the 6th year of Guanghe, but nothing major has happened. Zhou Dan replied, The 6th year of Guanghe? Fang Qingshan nodded. Although Zhou Dan and the others were still fighting with the Xinbei people, Fang Qingshan knew that the Yellow Turban Uprising had not broken out yet, but he did not know the exact time. Now that Zhou Dan said it was the 6th year of Guanghe, Fang Qingshan immediately understood that this was the year before the Yellow Turban Uprising broke out. Next year would be the year of the 60-year cycle. The heavens had died, and the yellow sky had risen. In the 60-year cycle, the slogan of prosperity would soon be heard. Time is of the essence. Fang Qingshan rubbed his brows. The Yellow Turban Uprising was about to break out, and he was still alone. Time was not on his side if he wanted to reap the benefits from the first wave and fight for an opportunity to rule the world in the future. Young master, are you going back to the Great Han Dynasty? Zhou Dan asked when she saw that Fang Qingshan did not speak for a long time. Why don't you come with us to Yuzhou? If the general knows that there's an expert like young master who helped us destroy thousands of Xinbei soldiers, he will be extremely happy and welcome you. All right. Fang Qingshan returned to his senses and nodded. Since he had nowhere to go, he might as well follow Zhou Dan to Yuzhou to have a look. Young master, please. Zhou Dan was overjoyed to see that Fang Qingshan had agreed. It had to be known that when he saw Fang Qingshan casually summon lightning to annihilate the Xinbei army, the first thing he felt was fear. After all, he had calculated that even if he gathered his army and summoned his white horse, they would not be able to withstand that thundercloud. They would only be defeated. If such an expert could join the general's camp, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. At that time, it would be even easier to deal with Liu Yu. Therefore, he invited Fang Qingshan with a glimmer of hope, but he didn't expect Fang Qingshan to really agree. After exterminating 10,000 Xinbei soldiers and inviting Fang Qingshan, Zhou Dan immediately returned to Yuzhou province with White Horse E without any hesitation. Following by Maji, Fang Qingshan entered the territory of the Yuzhou province. The moment Fang Qingshan entered the Great Han Dynasty, he felt his heart sink. It was as if a pair of eyes were staring at him from a dare. Fang Qingshan immediately raised his eyebrows, and his aura burst forth. Fang Qingshan's sudden outburst gave Zhou Dan and the others a fright. They thought that something unexpected had happened. Young master, what's wrong? Zhou Dan asked. Nothing. Fang Qingshan waved his hand. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly felt an expert equivalent to the Gangqi realm approaching from afar. I wonder which expert has come to Yuzhou province. Greetings, General. Before Fang Qingshan could say anything, Zhou Dan and the other followers of Baimaji got off their horses and greeted the person. This person had a majestic appearance, an elegant posture, and a loud voice. His entire body was brimming with an iron-blooded, murderous aura. Zhou Dan, you've returned so quickly? Gong Sunzan was a little surprised to see his followers. However, he paid more attention to Fang Qingshan because he felt a strong threat from Fang Qingshan. This must be the renowned General Gong Sun. Fang Qingshan looked him up and down and couldn't help but nod inwardly. As expected of Gong Sunzan, who could make children stop crying, and who even Yuan Shao had to avoid in the beginning, Gong Sunzan. This one is Fang Qingshan. Greetings, General. Gong Sunzan returned the greeting. You're too polite, young master. He then looked at Zhou Dan, waiting for an explanation. If he hadn't been alarmed by Fang Qingshan's aura, and if Gong Sunzan hadn't felt a strong sense of threat from Fang Qingshan with his arrogance, there was no way he would have greeted Fang Qingshan as an equal. General, it's like this. Seeing Gong Sunzan look over, Zhou Dan hurriedly recounted everything in detail. Hiss! Gong Sunzan couldn't help but gasp when he heard this. With his cultivation, wiping out thousands of Xinbei soldiers was naturally not a problem, but it was difficult for him to accomplish what Fang Qingshan had done as easily as he did. No wonder I felt such a strong threat from him, Gong Sunzan thought. At the same time, he couldn't help but have the same thought as Zhou Dan, to subdue Fang Qingshan. If he had this person's help, he wouldn't have to worry about failure. What plans does young Master Fang have in the future? If you're not weak, come to me. I promise that you'll be my superior. Gong Sun Zan spared no effort in order to rope in Fong Qingshan. Zhou Dan and the others were envious, but they all agreed. After all, they'd seen Fong Qingshan in action. "Thank you for your kindness, General." Fong Qingshan shook his head. "I'm used to living a carefree life, but I can't be restrained." Fong Qingshan rejected Gong Sun Zan without a second thought. What a joke. Putting aside whether Fong Qingshan would submit to someone else, even if he had to choose, he would choose Cao Cao, Liu Bei, or Sun Quan. Fong Qingshan was not a fool to choose Gong Sun Zan despite knowing his fate. Gong Sun Zan's expression changed when he heard Fong Qingshan's words. He'd invested so much, but Fong Qingshan wasn't moved at all. If it were someone else, he would have turned hostile long ago. Even Zhou Dan was vexed. He'd wanted to recommend a talent to his general, but Fong Qingshan wasn't willing at all. "However, I have roamed the world for so long. It's time for me to find a place to settle down. I wonder if the general would welcome me to stay?" Fong Qingshan changed the topic when the situation was in a stalemate. "Oh, it's great that young Master Fong is willing to settle down in Yuzhou. I'll have the opportunity to learn from you in the future." Gong Sun Zan's expression softened after hearing Fong Qingshan's words. Although he didn't immediately rope him in, he believed that Fong Qingshan wouldn't be able to run away as long as he was in his territory. "If that's the case, I'll have to trouble General to take care of me in the future." Fong Qingshan couldn't help but smile. Thus, everyone was happy. Fong Qingshan took out the gold, silver, and jewelry he'd taken from the Suicide Island Master and the Seven-Leaf Demon King from the Five Hell Kings tripod. He bought land and people in Jue County and became a rich man with peace of mind. Chapter 145. Yuzhou, Jue County. Ever since Fong Qingshan settled down here, he took out all the gold, silver, and jewelry he had put away and bought a large amount of land and servants. At this time, although it was not yet the Three Kingdoms period, natural disasters and man-made disasters made it hard for many people to live on, or at least to live. Now that there was a master like Fong Qingshan who was not short of money, he could spend a lot of money. Naturally, even a ghost would be able to do anything. It was already the 6th year of Guanghe, and next year would be the Yellow Turban Uprising. Although Fong Qingshan was very powerful and could fight against tens of thousands of people, he was alone. No matter how powerful he was, he could not split himself. Therefore, he seized the last bit of time to train a group of people he could use. He selected 3,000 young and strong refugee servants. Not only did they have 3 meals a day with meat, but they also took out pills made of sky demons and dissolved them into water for them to take. Under Fong Qingshan's nurturing without regard for the cost, these 3,000 people grew at a rapid rate. In just 3 months, they went from having bodies that were below the standard of ordinary people to elite soldiers that could split stone. Some of the more talented ones had even broken through to the Shun power realm. However, all of this was done secretly. Fong Qingshan chose a valley outside the county and set up a formation. He prepared quietly. After all, the world was not in chaos yet. Gong Sun Zan would visit from time to time, and it would be troublesome if he was discovered. In addition to the 3,000 soldiers that Fong Qingshan had trained as seeds, he also gathered the servants of the manor to train thousands of soldiers. Fortunately, in this era, people with a certain level of power had private soldiers. Thinking about Cao Cao, Yuan Shao, and the others, how could they gather thousands of troops with a wave of their arms? Many of them were private soldiers that had been trained by their families for a long time. Everything was going according to plan. Fong Qingshan followed the attitude of accumulating grain, digging deep, and slowly becoming king. He prepared methodically. When everything was on the right track, Fong Qingshan decided to start the second step of the plan, which was to recruit talents. As the saying goes, a fence has 3 stakes, and a hero needs 3 helpers. Although Fong Qingshan was confident that with his celestial being realm cultivation and a treasure like the pure yang flying sword, it would not be an issue for him to roam the world unhindered. But to conquer the world, did he have to take the lead in everything? Moreover, after meeting Gong Sun Zan, Fong Qingshan realized that the top generals of the three kingdoms were not much weaker than him. If Emir Gongsun Zan had stellar energy cultivation, then what about Zhang Fei, Guan Yu, Huang Zhong, Zhao Yun, and even Lu Bu? One of the reasons why Fong Qingshan chose to settle in Yuzhou province and Zhuo prefecture was that Zhang Fei could meet Guan Yu here. Compared to subduing civil officials, which required 3 visits, fame, ambition, and so on, subduing military officials was much easier. Generally speaking, as long as you were more powerful than them, heroic, and willing to lower yourself to befriend them and treat them as equals, it was very easy to obtain their favorable impression. Fong Qingshan's first target was naturally Zhang Fei, who was also in Zhuo County. Fong Qingshan left his manor and rushed to Zhang Fei's house. Along the way, he saw a desolate and dilapidated land. The people he saw were all numb, and there was not a trace of hope in their eyes. Sigh. Seeing this, Fong Qingshan could not help but sigh. He had only wanted to turn this place into a place that produced providence, but now he could not help but feel a sense of compassion and love. He wanted to change this world and let these commoners live a better life. If they were poor, they would take care of themselves, and if they were rich, they would help the world. This was not the Virgin Mary. It was merely something that Fong Qingshan did in passing, since it was within his capabilities, and it was also in line with his goals. Since they were in the same city, Fong Qingshan had already inquired about the specific location of Zhang Fei's house, so he quickly found his way there. Knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door of the Zhang Manor. Young master, who are you looking for? The door opened a crack, and an old man sized up Fong Qingshan in confusion. Wenzhou Prefecture Zhang Ida is brave and has specially come to visit, Fong Qingshan said with a smile. Oh, the old man made no sound, looked at Fong Qingshan in surprise, and said, Wait, I'll go and inform him. The current Zhang Fei was not the future third Master Zhang. He was young and had not made a name for himself. Yet, Fong Qingshan said that he had come because of his reputation. Naturally, the old gatekeeper was a little confused. What? Someone has come to visit? Haha. Then why don't you quickly invite him in? Hearing that someone had come to visit him because of his reputation, Zhang Fei was immediately delighted. He quickly came out with the gatekeeper to welcome him. After all, this was the first time that someone had come to visit him. The door opened wide, and a slightly young man walked out. He had a leopard's head, round eyes, a swallow's chin, and a tiger's beard. When he saw Fong Qingshan, a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. After all, Fong Qingshan had now reached the celestial being realm. If one did not pay attention, one would think that he was an ordinary person. Fortunately, Zhang Fei's eyesight was not bad. In the next moment, he felt the strangeness. When he looked again, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. You must be Zhang Fei, Zhang Ida, right? I am Fong Qingshan of the All-Heaven Villa in Zhuo Prefecture. Nice to meet you. Fong Qingshan sized up Zhang Fei and sensed his strength. He found that the current Zhang Fei was even weaker than Gongsun Zan. Fong Qingshan could not help but feel somewhat disappointed. However, after thinking about it, he understood. The current Zhang Fei was still young and had not followed Liu Bei to fight in various places. He had not received any tempering. His current cultivation was already very impressive. So, you are the All-Heaven Villa's Villa Lord that has caused quite an uproar recently. Hearing Fong Qingshan introduce himself, Zhang Fei could not help but come to a realization. Fong Qingshan had settled down in Zhuo Prefecture. He had spent a lot of money, and Gongsun Zan would visit him from time to time. As a local tyrant, Zhang Fei had naturally heard of him. Isn't it nice to have a friend visiting from afar? Please. Zhang Fei invited Fong Qingshan into the residence. When Fong Qingshan took out the gift he had prepared beforehand, he immediately won Zhang Fei's good impression. Fong Qingshan knew that Zhang Fei loved wine. Naturally, the wine he took out was the treasure wine that he had meticulously refined using his own alchemy techniques. It was mixed with many spiritual herbs. Although the three kingdoms were somewhat different from the three kingdoms in history, there were still similarities between them. Their wine brewing techniques were also not that great. Zhang Fei had never tasted such good wine before. He gulped it down in one gulp and immersed himself in the fog. The sour, sweet, bitter, spicy, the joys and sorrows of partings and reunions were all contained within. Good wine, good wine. After coming back to his senses, Zhang Fei repeatedly praised. Then, he picked up the wine jar and wanted to gulp it down in one gulp. However, he resisted the urge. What's wrong? Seeing this, Fang Qingshan could not help but ask curiously. Sigh, after drinking this wine, I won't be able to drink any other wine in the future. If I were to finish it in one gulp, what would I do in the future? Zhang Fei sighed. His eyes were staring at Fang Qingshan. Ha 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 ha. Isn't it easy for you to drink wine? Brother Zhang, you just have to look for me. Fang Qingshan patted his chest and said. Chapter 146. 1,000 cups of wine with oneself was too little, and half a sentence was too much when one did not agree with another. Fang Qingshan and Zhang Fei downed cup after cup. One had the intention to recruit him and cater to his liking, while the other was generous and did not bother with trifles. They drank to their heart's content. Come, come, come. Big brother Fang, come with me. After drinking too much, it was natural to let loose a little. Zhang Fei's alcohol tolerance was very good. Although he would not go crazy after drinking, he would not let go of the chance to make friends through martial arts. After all, when Fang Qingshan came, he said that Zhang Fei was brave enough to pay a visit. The two arrived at the peach garden in the backyard of the Zhang mansion. Zhang Fei stretched out his hand, and, like a cloud dragon extending its claw, he grabbed the long spear from the weapons rack. Huh! Zhang Fei's shout was like a bolt from the blue. With a shake of his hand, the long spear was like a black dragon rolling in his hand, stirring up winds and waves and turning the clouds and rain. Kill! After dancing for a while, Zhang Fei seemed to feel that it was not enough. He glared at Fang Qingshan and shouted. As the aura within his body surged, the 8-feet-long spear in his hand trembled, and a dark black light took shape at the tip of the spear. Taking 2 steps forward, the long spear drew a dark golden arc in the air, causing the air to rumble continuously. Finally, it heavily hacked towards Fang Qingshan without any intention of retreating. Zhang Fei was not afraid that Fang Qingshan would not be able to handle it. First, Fang Qingshan had come to visit because of his bravery, so he was naturally not weak. Moreover, the fact that he could drink without getting drunk meant that he was no ordinary person. In addition, he and Gong Sunzan both felt a strong sense of threat from Fang Qingshan's body. Naturally, he was not afraid that Fang Qingshan was a deceiver. Of course, if he could release it, he could also withdraw it. If Fang Qingshan was really weaker than him, Zhang Fei could guarantee that Fang Qingshan would at most suffer some light injuries. If this was the result, then his previous good impression of Fang Qingshan would not be as strong. At the very least, it would not be so strong. It would not be so easy for Fang Qingshan to recruit him. After all, not everyone could be like Liu Bei, who relied on his mouth and the identity of a Han clan member whose identity was unknown. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan did not disappoint Zhang Fei. Since he had come to Zhang Fei's place, Fang Qingshan had already made preparations. Seeing Zhang Fei's spear move like a poisonous dragon coming out of its lair, Zhang Fei also reached out and grabbed the spear. Then, a spear fell into Fang Qingshan's hand. Zhang Fei and Fang Qingshan were different. Zhang Fei and the other generals walked the path of martial arts, while Fang Qingshan was more like a scholar. At this moment, Fang Qingshan naturally couldn't use his divine powers to fight against Zhang Fei. After all, this was just a martial arts competition. Using divine powers would inevitably spoil the fun. Fortunately, he also cultivated martial arts before he entered the God Power secret realm. However, Fang Qingshan's spear trembled and was imbued with his gang qi. His toes dug into the ground like a tiger, and with a step he instantly shrank the ground to an inch and raised his spear. It was so fast that it was like a streak of flowing light. Clang! The tip of the spear collided with the tip of the spear. When the two collided, sparks burst out, and a shocking shock wave also surged out from the point of contact. Zhang Fei was naturally not surprised. The strong shock wave passed through the spear and directly sent him flying. Fortunately, he quickly performed a 1,000-pound fall, so he didn't make a fool of himself. Even so, he continuously retreated dozens of steps before he could stand firm. Unexpectedly, Fang Qingshan was also knocked back 3 steps by Zhang Fei's attack. Good fellow, as expected of Master Zhang San. Amazing. Although Fang Qingshan didn't use his full strength, his realm was high, and the quality of his Gang Qi was also high. However, he didn't expect Zhang Fei to be able to knock him back. The reason for this was that he didn't estimate Zhang Fei's strength well. Although Fang Qingshan had integrated the essence of the dragon elephant and was not inferior to ordinary people who were born with extraordinary strength, it was obvious that he was still inferior to Zhang Fei. He couldn't help but be amazed. Good. Again. Ever since Zhang Fei's martial arts reached the advanced stage, he didn't know how many famous experts around Jue County he had challenged. But basically, they couldn't last more than 10 moves, let alone knock him back. At this moment, he finally encountered a rare expert like Fang Qingshan. Naturally, he was excited. However, Zhang Fei's eyes were red with excitement, and his fighting spirit was high. His Gang Qi surged, and his spear danced, bursting out rays of dark light. For a moment, tens of thousands of dragons rose, and each shadow of the spear was like a black dragon. Each shadow of the spear smashed down like a mountain, and the sound of sonic booms rang out nonstop. If it were someone else, just the momentum alone would be enough to make people tremble, let alone take the blow. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan was also a person who had seen the world. He saw his spear thrust out, and the cold stars twinkled, and the pear flowers in the storm. Each shadow of the spear was like a silver awl, and it accurately hit the head of Zhang Fei's spear. Ding, ding, ding. Although Zhang Fei's attack was powerful and heavy, and it felt like he could defeat everything with his strength. However, Fang Qingshan's spear technique was even more skillful, and he attacked the enemy's weakness. Awesome again. He had met his match. Of course, this was from Zhang Fei's point of view. Compared to Fang Qingshan, there was no doubt that there was still a huge gap. If not for Fang Qingshan going easy on him, and the martial arts he used were not his forte, Zhang Fei would have been defeated long ago. In this regard, Zhang Fei naturally knew. However, this was not a battle between enemies, but a private spar. It was rare to meet an expert, and it was good to have fun. Just as Zhang Fei let go of himself and went all out like a crazy demon, and his combat strength was rising steadily, Fang Qingshan was like a reef in the sea, not moving at all. Every time, he took Zhang Fei's attack by a hair's breadth. He was stronger than he was. At this moment, Fang Qingshan suddenly raised his eyebrows, and he felt a strong aura approaching from afar. This power was not inferior to Zhang Fei's, and it was even stronger. Although Fang Qingshan raised his eyebrows, he did not take it seriously. He was very confident that with his skills, it would be wishful thinking if the person wanted to sneak up on him. What he was curious about was when, besides himself, Zhang Fei, and Gongsun Zan, there was another expert in the Power Qi realm in Jue County. Fortunately, the person knew his limits and stopped at a distance. Obviously, he was attracted by the fight between Zhang Fei and Fang Qingshan. Fight! 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 Fang Qingshan paid attention to the uninvited guest in the distance while dealing with Zhang Fei's attack. Zhang Fei, on the other hand, was releasing his strength to his heart's content. As time went by, although Zhang Fei's attack had slowly declined from its peak state, his mental state was becoming more and more spirited. When he attacked from the very beginning, it was shocking, and the sound shook the surroundings. Now, it was like listening to a clap of thunder in silence, as if extreme yang gave birth to yin, and extreme hardness gave birth to softness. Is he going to break through? Fang Qingshan did not expect Zhang Fei to break through so soon. He was stunned at first, and then he was delighted. He did not have much time to think, and quickly increased the pressure on Zhang Fei. Stimulated by this, Zhang Fei's aura suddenly rose. With a loud roar, his momentum was like a rainbow, and he gently thrust the spear, which seemed to be able to push a mountain, toward him. Chapter 147. This time, Fang Qingshan did not use spear techniques. Firstly, spear techniques were not his forte. After Zhang Fei's breakthrough, it would be difficult for him to deal with it. Secondly, there was no need for it. Since Zhang Fei had broken through, the battle was considered over. However, Fang Qingshan threw the long spear in his hand and waved his hand. The chi of heaven and earth instantly gathered, and a black and white Tai Chi diagram formed in front of his chest. At first, the long spear struck with great momentum and was as fast as lightning. But soon, when it fell into the Tai Chi diagram, it seemed to fall into a swamp, unable to withstand any force. Finally, it stopped in midair. Phew! Zhang Fei woke up from his frenzied attack and found that he had broken through. He could not help but be overjoyed. He had been stuck in this realm for 2 years and did not feel like breaking through the bottleneck. He did not expect that today's battle would actually help him improve. How could he not be happy? Thank you, Big Brother Fang. Although Zhang Fei was careless, he knew what was good and what was bad. He knew that Fang Qingshan had been giving in to him and helping him. In addition, Zhang Fei already had a good impression of Fang Qingshan. He immediately put his hands together and said, "In the future, if Big Brother Fang has any orders, I will go through mountains of knives and seas of fire. If I even frown, I will be worse than a pig or a dog." Ida is too serious. Seeing that he had conquered Zhang Fei, Fang Qingshan's eyes flashed with joy. He quickly helped him up. Now that eunuchs are in power, the people have no way to live. It is time for us heroes to solve the problem. With Ida's help, there is no need to worry about failure. I don't know how to solve the problem. I only know that I will do whatever Big Brother Fang wants me to do. Who said that Zhang Fei was reckless? He was also very understanding of the ways of the world. What he said was equally pleasing to the ear. The friend next to me, you have been watching for so long. Why don't you come out and meet me? After subduing Zhang Fei, Fang Qingshan did not forget that there was an expert next to him. So he turned around and shouted from afar. What? There's an outsider? Hearing that, Zhang Fei broke out in a cold sweat. In his previous state, if someone had launched a sneak attack on him, the thought of it sent chills down his spine. Fortunately, Big Brother Fang was there. While Zhang Fei rejoiced, he became a little unfriendly towards the person who had called out to him. He widened his eyes and looked in the direction where Fang Qingshan was shouting. "Little rascal, since you dare to peep, could it be that you don't dare to show yourself?" Zhang Fei reprimanded before anyone could respond. Why wouldn't I dare? Do you think I'm afraid of you?" The person who came was also a proud person. Originally, he was a little embarrassed to watch the fight between Fang Qingshan and Zhang Fei. After all, he had disturbed them. However, when Zhang Fei spoke, he immediately sneered. "Oh, looks like you really do have some skill. Then let old Zhang test it out first." Hearing this, Zhang Fei didn't say anything. He picked up the spear in his hand and moved like the wind. In the blink of an eye, he dashed towards the person who had just arrived. With a piercing sound, the spear pierced through the air. He was originally a person who liked to fight. He had just broken through and wanted to test it out on someone. After all, Fang Qingshan's realm was higher, and he deliberately gave in to him. So Zhang Fei was also embarrassed. At this moment, the person's provocation was like a pillow when dozing off. How could he let it go? The person who came did not conceal his aura. Previously, Zhang Fei just ignored it. Now that he looked over, he knew that the person's cultivation was a level higher than his before he had broken through. Immediately, his heart was itching. Not only Zhang Fei, but the person who came was also the same. It was hard to find an opponent. The reason why Zhang Fei couldn't break through was because he didn't have a good opponent and didn't have experience. Zhou Yu and Huang Gai, one was willing to fight and the other was willing to suffer. Therefore, as they spoke, the two of them began to fight. Although it seemed that Zhang Fei launched the attack first, the person who came later but arrived first. However, The person who came took out the padao that he carried with him and stood on the spot, ready to attack. He was as still as a mountain. When Zhang Fei's spear was already in front of him, he silently slashed out with his padao. However, a ray of green light with an explosive sound cut directly towards Zhang Fei's spear. Bang! With a loud sound, Zhang Fei felt that something was wrong when the person slashed out with his padao. He hurriedly adjusted his state and increased his strength from 70% to 90% in an instant. Even so, under the impact, Zhang Fei's face turned purple. His hands were numb, and his chest was stuffy. He took 3 steps back and almost couldn't hold the spear in his hand steadily. Again, of course, not only Zhang Fei, but also the person who came. After all, Zhang Fei had broken through, and his realm was a level higher. Although he was ready to attack with an amazing explosive force like a mountain flood bursting through a dam, he was still hit by Zhang Fei's great strength and took 5 steps back. Fortunately, his face was already red, so no change could be seen. However, after one slash, as soon as he steadied himself, he once again slashed in Zhang Fei's direction with a huge ray of green light. Good heavens, I was wondering who it was. It turns out that Lord Guan II is here. At first, Fang Qingshan was still wondering when a master of Gangqi realm had appeared in Jue County and who the person was. When he saw the person's face clearly and fought with Zhang Fei, he was sure that the person was Guan Yu. It turned out that Guan Yu had killed people in Jiuyang, so he went to other places. Because Yuzhou was located at the border and the law was weak, he came here. Today, he had just arrived in Jue County and was resting in an inn. When he heard the noise of the fight between Fang Qingshan and Zhang Fei, he was attracted here. Guan Yu's forte was the 3 sabers at the beginning, just like Cheng Yaojin's 3 axes. The only difference was that Cheng Yaojin only knew these 3 axes, while Guan Yu was only accumulating power at the beginning. The 3 sabers were extremely powerful and unexpected. Many people died under them because they did not understand them, such as Yin Liang and Wen Chou. At this moment, although Zhang Fei had made a breakthrough in his realm, he had just made the breakthrough and hadn't fully mastered it. Plus, he had been accumulating strength, so he was evenly matched with Guan Yu. Zhang Fei didn't expect Guan Yu's second saber to come so fast. His pupils shrank. However, he was also a person who grew stronger when facing strong opponents. He gathered all his strength and lashed out with a long spear in his hand like a divine dragon swinging its tail. Clang! A loud sound. Those who didn't know would think that the sky was falling and the earth was cracking. Guan Yu's eyes were also shining. He had traveled around the world and killed many masters with his 3 sabers. However, he didn't expect Zhang Fei to be so powerful and not be at a disadvantage at all. Taking a deep breath, Guan Yu's 3rd saber slashed down like a shadow. Ho! Facing Guan Yu's saber that was faster and more powerful than the previous one, Zhang Fei also looked solemn. He was even more cautious than when he was fighting with Fang Qingshan. After all, although Fang Qingshan was powerful, he was able to release and endure, and even gave way to Zhang Fei. On the other hand, Guan Yu was different. Both of them were going all out. If anyone was careless, they might be on the road to hell in the next moment. Taking a deep breath, Zhang Fei used the move that he had just comprehended after making a breakthrough. 5 Thunder Strike. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.